Chapter 291. There were less than 60 years left before the end of the 400-year period. In the remaining 50 years, Yi Tianzong planned to properly mine the various resource and crystal veins that he had discovered. The medium-sized crystal vein that Yi Tianzong had told Sui Wechuan about was now under Xiantian City. Before Sui Wechuan moved Xiantian City to this place, he had used the time difference to excavate a total of 1.3 million crystals. All of this was counted on Yi Tianzong. At the same time, Sui Wechuan also sent the news that Yi Tianzong had discovered a medium-sized crystal vein and decided to hand it over to the sect back to the Xiantian sect in the Great Wide World. The higher-ups of the Xiantian sect did not say anything when Sui Wechuan mentioned that Yi Tianzong had excavated some crystals. They treated it as if nothing had happened. This medium-sized crystal vein was discovered by Yi Tianzong himself. He did not rely on the power or background of the Xiantian sect. According to the rules, this belonged to Yi Tianzong himself. How he wanted to deal with it had nothing to do with anyone else. Yi Tianzong had decided to hand over the medium-sized crystal vein to the sect. This was a contribution to the sect. He was thinking about the interests of the sect. The higher-ups of the sect had to know what was good for them. They had only excavated some crystals. So what if they dug out half of it? The remaining half was picked up by the sect for free. Who could say that Yi Tianzong was in the wrong? If they still criticized Yi Tianzong, the Xiantian sect would not be able to develop in the future. The disciples of the Xiantian sect would no longer do their best to search for resources in the world battlefield for the sect. This medium-sized yuan crystal lode under Xiantian City had been exploited for over 200 years. Because it was right under Sui Wechuan's eyes and had a geographical advantage, half of this medium-sized yuan crystal lode had been exploited under the leadership of Sui Wechuan. There was no need for Yi Tianzong to worry about the mining of yuan crystal veins. After staying in Profound Heaven City for a period of time, he told Sui Wechuan that he was going out to look for other resource veins. Sui Wechuan knew that with Yi Tianzong's ability, other sect disciples would be hindering him. In addition, Yi Tianzong also said that he would not appear as a rogue again, so after a little consideration, he agreed to let Yi Tianzong go out alone to look for resources and cover for Yi Tianzong. After Yi Tianzong left Xiantian City alone, he rushed to the location of the resource veins he had discovered. Apart from comprehending the laws of heaven and earth and cultivating, he also excavated various resource veins. When there was no more space in his storage ring, he would return to the profound spirit world and take out a quarter of the resources he had collected to give to the higher-ups of the Hao Ranjin sect to develop the sect's strength. As for the remaining 3/4 of the resources, a quarter was given to Yi Haoran, Yi Yuanshan, and others so that they would have sufficient resources to accumulate energy and improve their cultivation realm in the shortest time possible. The remaining half of the resources were all placed in the immortal mansion for Ling Xinyue and Shen Yu to use as they pleased. As always, there were endless battles taking place on the world battlefield all the time. There was no change because of the disappearance of the rogues. It was only because of the revenge action of the rogues and the words that they would continue to take revenge after 100 years. All the races and forces that had grudges with the rogues had unanimously strengthened the overall strength of their strongholds in the world battlefield. Unknowingly, 50 years had passed. Yi Tianzong leisurely mined various resource veins and yuan crystal veins that he had discovered. During the 50 years, Yi Tianzong had returned to the profound spirit world twice and brought back countless cultivation resources. This had allowed the strength of the myth realm experts of the Hao Ranjin sect to soar, and the overall strength of the sect had greatly increased. Since his return to the profound spirit world 5 years ago, the number of yuan crystals in Yi Tianzong's storage ring had once again reached about 60 million. There were also as many as 15 kinds of emperor-level divine materials, each of which had accumulated more than 1,000 cubic meters. His value had once again increased. With his current value, he was not inferior to an ordinary early-stage great emperor expert. In less than 7 years, it would be 400 years. Yi Tianzong did not mine any more resource veins. Instead, he began his plan to rob before he left. Yi Tianzong used the body displacement to transform into the experts of 10 races, including the human race, the dragon race, and the blood race. In addition, there were 2 clones cultivated by the external incarnation. A total of 3 people were formed. They casually gave the name Celestial Deity Squad, and carried out sneak attacks and robberies on a small portion of the 10 races. When fighting with those forces, they did not use any power related to the rogues. After robbing for 4 years in a row, Yi Tianzong collected a large number of heaven and earth treasures and resource materials. As for the forces that had been robbed, they were furious. In the past, there was a rogue who made them very annoyed. Now there was a Bulsh *T, Celestial God Squad, that had appeared out of nowhere, once again biting their whiskers. Any random cat or dog dared to come out and show off their power. Did they really think that they were vegetarians who didn't dare to be ruthless? However, when they gathered a large number of forces to find the Celestial Deity Squad and completely destroy them, the Celestial Deity Squad that made their teeth itch actually shouted, "We will come back to rob you again," and disappeared. This situation made those forces so depressed that they were about to go crazy. Yi Tianzong once again quietly returned to Xiantian City and met with elders Sui Wechuan. They were about to leave the world battlefield. After thinking for a while, Yi Tianzong told Sui Wechuan about a medium-sized crystal vein and a purple divine gold vein that he had discovered within 2 million kilometers of Xiantian City. Then, while Sui Wechuan was pleasantly surprised, Yi Tianzong quietly brought him to check the location and situation of these 2 veins. The purple divine gold vein was fine. This was a refining material that was about the same value as the 5 elements gold essence among emperor-level materials. It was in an area without any forces. However, the medium-sized crystal vein was close to the territory of a demon emperor-level force. It was more troublesome to mine it. If they were not careful, they would be discovered by that force. They needed to plan for a long time. However, Yi Tianzong did not care about these things. In any case, he had already found the resources in such a barren area. He would leave the rest to the higher-ups of the Xiantian sect to deal with. Another 2 years passed, and the 400 years were finally up. After looking back at Xiantian City, Yi Tianzong led the 200 true disciples of the Xiantian sect out of the world battlefield and headed for the War God Temple. In the War God Temple, Yi Tianzong used more than 120 million battle merits to exchange for hundreds of spiritual herbs, god materials, and various treasures. In the end, he was only left with 1 million battle merit. After exchanging the battle merits in the War God Temple, Yi Tianzong led the 200 true disciples of the Xiantian sect back to the Taiyuan domain through the Starry Sky teleportation gate. Yi Tianzong led the disciples of the Xiantian sect back to the Xiantian sect in a very low-key manner. Then, they used the void teleportation formation and spent half a year to return to the Xiantian sect. When Yi Tianzong returned from the world battlefield, he was immediately summoned by the higher-ups of the sect. Lin Xiantian and the 6 Hall Masters praised Yi Tianzong for his contributions to the sect in the world battlefield. After rewarding Yi Tianzong with 30 million contribution points and 10 chances to choose a god art, they let Yi Tianzong return to his Haoran Peak. After returning to the Haoran Peak, Yi Tianzong rested for a day before gathering the core members of the Haoran camp on the Haoran Peak. He asked about the changes in the sect during the 400 years that he had been away. Lu Xini, O Yueming, and Yun Qinglin were originally on the true disciple ranking. Ever since they joined the Haoran camp that Yi Tianzong had created, the 3 of them had reached the peak of mythical stage 300 years ago and became the higher-ups of the Haoran camp through the large amount of resources and shadow stones that Yi Tianzong had left behind. Now that 300 years had passed, the 3 of them had accumulated more and more experience, and their strength had also become stronger. After listening to the three of them, Yi Tianzong had a general understanding of the current situation of the Black Heaven sect. Due to the fact that Yi Tianzong had discovered several primal crystal veins and resource veins in the world battlefield, as well as the shadow stones that recorded his explanation of the mythical stage cultivation, although the Black Heaven sect had been developing in a low-key manner for the past 400 years, its strength had been growing rapidly. Now, the total number of disciples in the sect had exceeded 2 million. The number of true disciples had increased from 2,000 to 6,000. It had increased by 2 times. The number of core disciples had also exceeded 60,000. There were also some true disciples who had once been on the ranking list. In the past 400 years, 3 of them had advanced to the God King stage and become elders of the sect. One of them was a true disciple who had a bad relationship with Yi Tianzong. His name was Su Yuezhen. Su Yuezhen used to be ranked 7th on the true disciple ranking list. He didn't have a good relationship with Yi Tianzong. He had even suppressed Yi Tianzong before he became a true disciple. In the end, Yi Tianzong taught him a lesson in the arena. Originally, after Yi Tianzong and Su Yuezhen fought in the arena, it was clear that the karma between them had been resolved. However, after Su Yuezhen advanced to the God King stage, he became somewhat arrogant and domineering. Chapter 292. After Su Yuezhen advanced to the Divine King realm, he deliberately ignored the matter of ending karma in the past. After breaking through to the Divine King realm and becoming an elder of the sect, he began to suppress the Haoran camp established by Yi Tianzong. The Haoran faction created by Yi Tianzong was favored by the disciples of the Profound Heavens sect due to its mission. In the past 400 years, it had developed rapidly along with the strength of the Profound Heavens sect. Over 30,000 people had joined Haoran faction. They ranged from outer disciples to direct disciples. However, ever since Su Yuezhen became a God King 100 years ago, the situation of Haoran faction became rather awkward. In order to prevent Haoran faction from growing stronger, Su Yuezhen worked with the other direct disciples to suppress Haoran faction. If it were not for the fact that Haoran faction had Lu Xini, O Yueming, Yun Qinglin, and 7 other direct disciples who had reached the second level of prodigies due to Yi Tianzong's guidance and deep accumulations, Haoran faction would definitely have suffered a great loss from the suppression. Originally, Su Yuezhen had personally stepped into the battlefield several times, wanting to bully the weak and eliminate Lu Xini, O Yueming, Yun Qinglin, and the others who supported the Haoran faction. However, because the higher-ups of the sect stopped him, he was unable to achieve his goal. This made Su Yuezhen feel unbalanced in his heart, and he became more and more ruthless in suppressing the Haoran faction. As for the other 2 direct disciples who had become God Kings, they did not have any grievances with Yi Tianzong in the past. Moreover, they had been warned by the upper echelons of the Profound Heavens sect not to go against Yi Tianzong after becoming God Kings. No one who could become a God King was an idiot. After the 2 of them learned about Yi Tianzong's contributions from the upper echelons of the sect, they knew that Su Yuezhen had been abandoned by the upper echelons of the sect. Although the Profound Heavens sect was not very powerful among emperor-level organizations, they did not lack an early-stage God King. Su Yuezhen might seem to be causing a ruckus now, but she was only a pawn that the upper echelons of the sect pushed out to establish Yi Tianzong's prestige. Originally, if Su Yuezhen cultivated obediently after becoming a God King, the upper echelons of the Profound Heavens sect would not have any thoughts about it. However, when they saw Su Yuezhen openly disregarding the previous karma and continued to suppress Yi Tianzong's Haoran faction, the upper echelons of the sect's upper echelons of the Profound Heavens sect decided. Therefore, the upper echelons of the Profound Heavens sect came up with the idea of waiting for Yi Tianzong to return from the World War so that he could establish his prestige. On the other hand, Su Yuezhen, who was becoming more and more stubborn in suppressing Haoran faction, had no idea that she had been abandoned by the upper echelons of the sect because of her disappointing performance. After Yi Tianzong learned about the situation of the profound heaven sect for the past 400 years, he fell into deep thought. No wonder sect master Lin Xiantian said something like, "You're not bad. The sect doesn't lack a god king. How far you can go will depend on your own strength," in the sect's main hall yesterday. Meanwhile, the other god kings such as the Scripture Hall Master, Myriad Weapons Hall Master, Test Hall Master, Mission Hall Master, Disciplinary Hall Master, and Alchemy Hall Master also had an unclear expression on their faces. After listening to Lu Xini, Ou Yueming, Yun Chenglin, and the others' narration, Yi Tianzong finally realized that the sect master and the others were referring to Su Yuezhen. It seemed like the upper echelons of the sect had left Su Yuezhen as a target for him to establish his prestige. After Yi Tianzong figured it out, he made up his mind. Since Su Yuezhen doesn't know what's good for him, I'll make him disappear completely. Does he really think that he can sit back and relax after becoming a god king? It just so happened that the Profound Heaven Sect's grand tournament that was held once every 100 years was in 3 years' time. Yi Tianzong decided to completely suppress Su Yuezhen with his absolute strength in front of the entire sect at that time and establish his prestige in the entire Profound Heaven Sect. Speaking of which, it was quite a coincidence. Ever since Yi Tianzong came to the Profound Heaven Sect more than 600 years ago, he had never participated in a single grand tournament. The grand tournament in 3 years' time would be Yi Tianzong's first time participating in it. After Yi Tianzong made up his mind, he asked Lu Xini and the others to spread the news that he would compete with Su Yuezhen in the grand tournament in 3 years' time. The winner would live and the loser would die. Yi Tianzong did not care what kind of impact the announcement would have on the sect. His current strength had reached its peak in the world battlefield. In addition to his comprehension of the laws, it was enough for him to fight against an ordinary peak God King powerhouse. Even if he failed, he would be able to escape unscathed. Since it was difficult for him to improve his strength in a short period of time, he would nurture his subordinates and let them achieve the best results in the grand tournament. After careful consideration, Yi Tianzong decided to teach Lu Xini, Ou Yueming, Yun Chenglin, and more than 10 other core members of Howren's camp. It was the return to God's secret technique that he had created himself. The return to God's secret technique was created by Yi Tianzong based on the True God 9 transformations. It was a secret technique that could increase a cultivator's aptitude and potential. It was also called the Return to God 9 transformations. Yi Tianzong directly taught the Return to God 9 transformations secret technique to Lu Xini, Ou Yueming, and more than 10 other core members. Lu Xini, Ou Yueming, and more than 10 other core members of Howren's camp had reached the peak 6th heaven of mythical realm and were ranked on the True Disciple ranking. These people had decent aptitude. Whether it was their temperament or perseverance, they were the best candidates. Yi Tianzong also wanted to nurture some of his trusted subordinates so that they could better assist him in controlling the Black Heaven sect in the future. Lu Xini and the others were people who knew their stuff. After receiving the secret technique from Yi Tianzong, they deeply understood how powerful this secret technique that could increase one's aptitude and potential was. The fact that Yi Tianzong could teach them this secret technique showed how much Yi Tianzong valued and trusted them. After solemnly and firmly expressing to Yi Tianzong that they would definitely follow him and never betray him, they took the resources that Yi Tianzong gave them to assist their cultivation and returned to their respective cultivation caves. They could not wait to cultivate the secret technique that Yi Tianzong taught them. After teaching Lu Xini and more than 10 other core members of Howren's camp the complete Return to God's secret technique, Yi Tianzong summoned the core members who were second only to Lu Xini and the others. There were a total of 36 people. After praising their contributions to the camp, Yi Tianzong was not stingy with them. He taught them the first 6 transformations of the Return to God 9 transformations secret technique and gave them a batch of resources to cultivate. In the following time, Yi Tianzong did not cultivate. Instead, he personally planned and developed the Howrans camp that he had created. He set up an even more powerful soul-gathering defensive formation on Howran Peak. Then, he regularly answered the questions and difficulties that the members of Howran's camp encountered when they cultivated various divine abilities. He also replenished the treasury on Howran Peak with large amounts of spiritual herbs, crystals, pills, and other resources. Yi Tianzong was personally developing the strength of Howran's camp. In the Black Heaven sect, almost everyone was shocked by Yi Tianzong's declaration that he would fight the divine king Su Yuezhen to the death in the sect's grand tournament. Almost all of the Black Heaven sect's disciples and divine king realm powerhouses were discussing this matter. Apart from the Black Heaven sect's disciples who did not know Yi Tianzong's strength, they were unanimously pessimistic about Yi Tianzong and believed that Yi Tianzong would lose without a doubt. However, the Divine King experts of the Black Heaven sect, who knew that Yi Tianzong had fought with an early-stage Divine King Elder because of the authority of the Thousand Elephant Formation, retained their opinions. A Divine King expert was indeed much stronger than a 6th Heaven stage Divine King expert. They could easily suppress hundreds of 6th Heaven stage Divine Kings, but it also depended on who the opponent was. It was just like how Yi Tianzong had fought an early-stage God King Elder to a standstill when he was at the peak of the 6th heavenly layer. Moreover, Yi Tianzong had stayed in the world battlefield for 400 years. His strength must have improved. Although it was not as exaggerated as 3 or 4 times, it should be no problem for him to double or triple his strength. Although Su Yuezhen was originally a disciple on the true disciple list, in terms of strength, he was really not comparable to the early-stage Divine King Elder who fought with Yi Tianzong. Therefore, the result of the battle between Yi Tianzong and Su Yuezhen was still unknown. Although a Divine King expert was strong, it did not mean that he could not be killed. After hearing Yi Tianzong's words, the sect master of the Black Heaven sect, Lin Xiantian, smiled and said softly, "Haha. This little brat, it seems like he has gained a lot in the world battlefield over the past few hundred years. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said such words if he wasn't very confident. Then let me see how powerful a rogue in the world battlefield is. After 1,000 years, it will be the ranking battle of the 3,000 domains. Now, the entire Taiyuan domain is restless. I hope you and your followers can grow up as soon as possible and become the backbone of the Black Heaven sect." After Lin Xiantian finished speaking, he looked at the sky with deep and distant eyes. It was as if he could see the tragic scene of 1,000 years later. Chapter 293. In the blink of an eye, 3 years had passed. The Black Heaven sect's Centennial Sect Tournament had officially arrived. The Mystic Sky Sect's Grand Tournament, which was held once every 100 years, was divided into 4 levels: Outer Sect Disciples, Inner Sect Disciples, Core Disciples, and True Disciples. Every time the tournament was held, the top 100 of each category would be ranked on the ranking board. At the same time, the top 100 would be rewarded handsomely. The sect tournament's venue was a 10,000-mile area that had been meticulously set up by the sect's higher-up. The 10,000-mile area was divided into 3,000 spaces. Each space was strengthened by a great Emperor-level expert. The spaces were so sturdy that even a peak Divine King expert would find it hard to move them. After the sect grand competition began, the Outer Sect Disciple, Inner Sect Disciple, Core Disciple, and True Disciples competition would be held simultaneously. During the competition, the disciples were not allowed to use any sneak attack. After the opponent admitted defeat, the disciples were not allowed to continue attacking. The disciples were also not allowed to use any god talismans or forbidden weapons that exceeded their cultivation level. Yi Tianzong did not put on any airs or make a grand entrance. Instead, he brought the disciples from the Howran Peak to the competition venue early. He then stood among the true disciples and closed his eyes to rest. He waited quietly for the sect's higher-ups to arrive. He did not care about the strange expressions of the true and core disciples around him. Not long after Yi Tianzong and the other true disciples arrived, the sect's elders and higher-ups arrived one after another. As the sect leader of the Black Heaven sect, Lin Xiantian announced the start of the sect tournament after a brief speech. After Lin Xiantian announced the start of the sect tournament, the deacons and elders of the Black Heaven sect all came to the 3,000 competition venues to act as referees. The outer disciples, inner disciples, core disciples, and true disciples of the Black Heaven sect would compete by drawing lots. Of course, the drawing of lots would be presided over by the sect's divine king experts. While maintaining fairness to the greatest extent, they would not allow the stronger disciples to face each other in advance. As a successor disciple, Yi Tianzong also needed to participate in the competition. However, Yi Tianzong's strength was there for all to see. He was a second-grade martial saint who could break through the Wanxiang array. Therefore, all the successor disciples automatically admitted defeat when they saw Yi Tianzong. Yi Tianzong and the higher-ups of the sect had expected such a situation. The Divine King Realm experts of the sect didn't blame those disciples who chose to surrender. After all, they knew that Yi Tianzong was invincible, yet they still wanted to fight with him. That was pure idiocy. Even if he wanted to show his courage and perseverance, there were other opponents. It was completely different from facing Yi Tianzong. Therefore, in the successor-disciple competition, Yi Tianzong didn't have any opponents and directly reached the top. As for Lu Xini, Ou Yueming, Yun Qinglin, and nearly 50 other true disciples at the sixth sky of Myth Realm, they were already very strong, and with the return to God's secret technique that Yi Tianzong had bestowed upon them in the past 3 years, everyone's strength had increased by at least twofold. During the competition among the true disciples, Lu Xini and the other nearly 50 people had swept through their opponent. In a short period of time, they had forcefully defeated their opponents, and in the end, all of them had entered the top 80 of the true disciple ranking list. In addition to the successor disciples, in the past 3 years, Yi Tianzong had carefully nurtured all the outer disciples, inner disciples, and core disciples who belonged to Howren's faction. As for the outer disciples below the myth realm, they were allowed to enter the creation mysterious pool to cleanse themselves and strengthen their foundation. As for the inner disciples and core disciples who were above the myth realm, Yi Tianzong had taught the secret technique of returning God to the best among them. In addition to a large number of resources, everyone's strength had also increased greatly. Yi Tianzong's goal was to let the disciples of each level in Howren's faction enter the top 3 of their respective rankings. Yi Tianzong's resources and energy in the past 3 years were not wasted. All the disciples of Black Heaven sect who belonged to Howren's faction performed very well in the sect tournament. According to the division of the 10,000 Elephants formation, all the disciples of Howren's faction who signed up for the sect tournament were at least elite. For example, Lu Xini, Ou Yueming, Yun Qinglin, and the other successor disciples at the peak of the sixth heaven of Myth Realm, who were taught the complete secret technique by Yi Tianzong, had basically reached the level of king stage. They had even occupied the top 15 of the successor disciple ranking. This situation shocked the higher-ups of Black Heaven sect, including Lin Xiantian. The higher-ups of Black Heaven sect knew that Lu Xini, Ou Yueming, and the others would definitely improve under Yi Tianzong's guidance, but they did not expect them to improve to such an extent. Lin Xiantian and the other 6 temple masters immediately understood that Yi Tianzong must have some kind of mysterious method that could improve a cultivator's foundation and strength without any side effect. Damn it! This damn Yi Tianzong! What method does he have to improve people to such a level in such a short time? How did he do it? He deserves to die. Su Yuezhen was furious when he saw that the disciples of Howren's faction were performing very well. He looked at Yi Tianzong with unconcealable resentment. Yi Tianzong had long sensed the resentment in Su Yuezhen's eyes, but he did not care. After all, Su Yuezhen would die when the sect's grand competition ended. He would just let him live for a few more days. In the face of Yi Tianzong's disregard and indifference, the anger and resentment in Su Yuezhen's heart rose higher and higher. The Black Heaven sect's grand competition lasted for a total of 7 days. After intense battles, the top 100 outer disciples, inner disciples, core disciples, and successor disciples were determined. In the top 100 of the 4 lists, all the disciples who had been carefully trained by Yi Tianzong had entered the top 80, and all of them had taken the first place of the 4 lists. This result shocked all the disciples and higher-ups of Black Heaven sect. This meant that Yi Tianzong's faction in Haoran's faction had at least half of the most elite disciples of Black Heaven sect. Yi Tianzong's power had been established, and no one could shake his position anymore. After Lin Xiantian, as the sect master, gave out all the rewards to the winners of the grand competition, the atmosphere immediately became strange. Everyone knew what was going to happen next. Yi Tianzong was going to fight Su Yuezhen, who had become a divine king. It would be a fight to the death. Yi Tianzong did not make everyone wait for long. After Lin Xiantian gave out the rewards, he suddenly opened his originally closed eyes. 2 sharp rays of light shot out as he moved to the ring of life and death. A golden sword appeared in Yi Tianzong's hand. Yi Tianzong stood on the ring of life and death and stared at Su Yuezhen. He pointed his sword at Su Yuezhen and said with a murderous tone, "Su Yuezhen, this is a battle of life and death. The winner will live and the loser will die. Do you dare to accept?" Su Yuezhen had no choice but to accept Yi Tianzong's challenge in front of the entire Black Heaven sect. Moreover, he did not believe that Yi Tianzong could defeat him. Only after becoming a divine king did Su Yuezhen understand the insurmountable gap between a divine king and a mythical 6th heaven. Su Yuezhen, who had long wanted to kill Yi Tianzong, also appeared on the ring of life and death with an unconcealable murderous intent on his ferocious face. Su Yuezhen also took out his divine sword while looking at Yi Tianzong. He said with a biting cold murderous intent, "There is a path to heaven, but you refuse to take it. Yi Tianzong, you are indeed peerless. At the same level, I am far inferior to you. If you had been dormant for a while and become a divine king, I would have retreated. But you are so arrogant that you want to fight me to the death now. You don't know what a divine king represents. But it's too late for you to regret now. You asked for it." Yi Tianzong did not want to listen to Su Yuezhen anymore, so he interrupted. "Stop talking nonsense. I am going to attack. Don't say that I bullied you." After Yi Tianzong finished speaking, he put away the golden sword in his hand and directly used the world-suppressing fist with his bare fists to suppress Su Yuezhen. Su Yuezhen was rudely interrupted by Yi Tianzong and saw Yi Tianzong put away his divine sword and attack him with his bare fists. He was furious. Yi Tianzong was looking down on him. But he had no time to be angry, because Yi Tianzong's attack was already in front of him. Su Yuezhen waved his divine sword and slashed out a sword light that was 30 meters long. When it collided with Yi Tianzong's overbearing world suppression punch, Su Yuezhen's face suddenly changed. He didn't even have time to mobilize more power in his body to resist before the ferocious and peerless fist energy shattered the sword light and then bombarded his body. Su Yuezhen was directly sent flying by Yi Tianzong's powerful attack and spat out blood. Even his divine king's divine body was slightly injured. How is this possible? Su Yuezhen looked at Yi Tianzong in disbelief. When he fought with Yi Tianzong just now, Su Yuezhen found something that he could not accept. He felt that Yi Tianzong's strength was above his. This was beyond his imagination. It was hard for him to accept. He couldn't accept that Yi Tianzong was so strong. Chapter 294. Su Yuezhen was not the only one who found it hard to accept. All the disciples and higher-ups of the Black Sky sect who were watching the battle found it hard to accept. Even Lin Xiantian, who knew that Yi Tianzong was a rogue, was very surprised by Yi Tianzong's strength. Despite the suppression of the power of law, Lin Xiantian and the other higher-ups of the Black Sky sect could still feel that Su Yuezhen was not careless when he blocked Yi Tianzong's attack. However, under such circumstances, Yi Tianzong still managed to injure him with his bare hands. The strength displayed by Yi Tianzong was really incredible. Looking at the incredulous Su Yuezhen, Yi Tianzong said coldly, "That punch just now was a lesson to you, to let you know my strength. Next, show me your strongest strength. Let's see how long you can last under my attack." You're just a divine king. If I want to, I can break through at any time. Since you didn't know what's good for you when I let you go, you're just a chess piece for me to establish my power. After Yi Tianzong finished speaking, his tyrannical aura surged again. His fists flashed with dazzling golden light, and then he attacked Su Yuezhen again. Yi Tianzong was like an invincible supreme god of war. He stepped through the obstacles of space and appeared in front of Su Yuezhen in an instant. His golden fists carried an invincible power that could destroy gods and demons and suppress heaven and earth as they came down on Su Yuezhen's head. Facing Yi Tianzong's fist, Su Yuezhen suddenly saw the scene of Yi Tianzong using his fists to defeat all the gods and demons in the sky and sweep through the endless galaxy. The power that could destroy heaven and earth and time mercilessly suppressed him. Su Yuezhen did not sit still and wait for death. With a furious roar, Su Yuezhen unleashed all his strength in the face of a life-and-death crisis. A wisp of the power of law of the 5 elements was condensed when he advanced to the Divine King realm and was added to the Divine Sword. At the same time, Su Yuezhen also used the mysterious Sky Annihilation Sword technique that he was famous for. The Mystic Heaven Annihilation Sword technique was one of the 5 great sword techniques of the Black Heaven sect. It was both a sword technique and a lesser divine ability that was ranked in the top 10 of the Black Heaven sect in terms of offensive power. Feeling the incomparably vast and overbearing power in Yi Tianzong's fists, Su Yuezhen went all out in this life and death crisis. With the support of a strand of the laws of the 5 elements, a river of laws of the 5 elements appeared behind Su Yuezhen, providing her with endless power. Moreover, Su Yuezhen's body erupted with a fierce aura as he used the most powerful move of the mysterious Heavenly Annihilation Sword art, Heaven-Shattering Annihilation. Boundless destructive power converged on Su Yuezhen's divine sword. Su Yuezhen's divine sword instantly expanded by 100-fold, rippling with extreme destructive power. Under Su Yuezhen's control, the 30-meter-long giant sword that contained boundless destructive power collided with Yi Tianzong's world-suppressing fists that could suppress gods and demons. The intense collision between the vast and powerful forces caused a series of earth-shattering explosions. Yi Tianzong swung his golden fists and clashed with Su Yuezhen, who wielded the divine sword of annihilation, hundreds and thousands of times in a short instant. Violent energy swept over Yi Tianzong and Su Yuezhen's figures. All the disciples and higher-ups of the Black Heaven sect, who were watching the battle between Yi Tianzong and Su Yuezhen, were shocked. The disciples of the Black Heaven sect, who were below the Divine King realm, were shocked because they did not expect Yi Tianzong to be able to fight so fiercely with a Divine King expert. On the other hand, the Divine King experts and higher-ups of the Black Heaven sect were shocked that Yi Tianzong was able to match Su Yuezhen with his bare hands. Everyone knew that Yi Tianzong was best at using the way of the sword, but now Yi Tianzong was able to match Su Yuezhen with his bare hands. That was a Divine King weapon that contained immense destructive power. Just how strong was Yi Tianzong's divine body to be able to match a Divine King weapon with his bare hands? The Divine King experts of the Black Heaven sect could not help but be shocked. However, little did he know that Lin Xiantian and the other 6 Hall Masters, who were all peak Divine King level, were even more shocked at this moment. With their strength, they could clearly see that Su Yuezhen was going all out in the battle. She had already used all her strength. However, they saw that Yi Tianzong remained calm and relaxed throughout the battle. What did that mean? It meant that Yi Tianzong had not used his full strength at all. An early-stage divine king expert was fighting a disciple of the sixth celestial layer of myth realm. Despite going all out, Yi Tianzong was still unable to make the other party get serious. What kind of sad and terrifying situation was this? Lin Xiantian and the other 6 hall masters could not calm down for a long time. In fact, Lin Xiantian and the other 6 hall masters were not the only ones who noticed Yi Tianzong's condition. Su Yuezhen, who was fighting against Yi Tianzong, also noticed that Yi Tianzong was completely calm. Su Yuezhen was not stupid. How could she not know what this meant? Even though she was still using all her strength to swing her sword and kill Yi Tianzong, Su Yuezhen knew how unattainable this wish was. Now she understood everything. She finally understood why the upper echelons of the sect did not stop her when she joined forces with the other true disciples to suppress Hauran's faction. However, whenever she wanted to join the battle personally, the upper echelons of the sect would strictly stop her. Why did the other 2 divine king true disciples ignore him the entire time? It turned out that ever since she went back on her words after becoming a divine king and wanted to suppress Hauran's faction and target Yi Tianzong, she had already been abandoned by the upper echelons of the sect. She had been left behind as a pawn for Yi Tianzong to establish her might. He had figured everything out, but he couldn't turn back now. Yi Tianzong didn't care if Su Yuezhen understood anything. He just felt that he had been fighting with Su Yuezhen for a quarter of an hour. He didn't want to continue playing with Su Yuezhen. Suddenly, the power of his attacks doubled. The golden fists became more and more brutal. With the power to suppress time and space, they shattered the power of destruction and directly struck Su Yuezhen's sword. Caught off guard, Su Yuezhen's sword was knocked out of her hand. Before she could even fight back, she was struck by Yi Tianzong's series of violent attacks. Yi Tianzong threw several hundred punches at Su Yuezhen in a single instance. Every single punch possessed enough power to injure mid-god kings. They landed firmly on Su Yuezhen's body. In the blink of an eye, the 2 men who had been fighting fiercely just a moment ago had a sudden change in the situation. Su Yuezhen had condensed the origin energy of laws to protect her soul, but Yi Tianzong had comprehended over 70% of the mysteries of various laws. He had also condensed the origin energy of the laws of the world, so Su Yuezhen truly became heavily injured from Yi Tianzong's attack. After receiving several hundred punches from Yi Tianzong, Su Yuezhen's soul was on the verge of shattering. She was sent flying while vomiting blood, but she was stopped by the barrier of the arena of life and death. In the end, she laid on the ground and looked at Yi Tianzong in despair. She said in despair, "I finally understand. Ever since I became a god king and wanted to deal with you again, my fate had already been decided. The path of cultivation is far too difficult and uncertain. There are countless tribulations along the way, and the slightest carelessness can lead to eternal damnation. In more than 10,000 years of cultivation, I went from an ant-like mortal to a god king. I can't even count the tribulations I've gone through. However, I still wasn't resolute enough. I couldn't control my desires. Everything that happened today was my choice. If only I could understand this sooner, but it's too late. Yi Tianzong, you're truly a peerless prodigy. You're the son of fortune. I hope you can continue on this path and don't become me." With that, Su Yuezhen's soul completely shattered and she died. When Yi Tianzong heard Su Yuezhen's words, although he was a little surprised that Su Yuezhen had gained enlightenment before she died, he did not feel anything. "I've let you down. I won't become you," Yi Tianzong muttered to himself. Then, under the shocked gazes of the Black Heaven sect spectators, he turned around and walked out of the arena of life and death. After bowing to Lin Xiantian and the others, Yi Tianzong led the disciples of Hauran Peak back to Hauran Peak. Yi Tianzong had defeated a god king at the 6th heaven of mythological realm and killed him. Under the orders of the Black Heaven sect's higher-ups, the news was not widely spread. Instead, it was kept under wraps within the sect. However, The impact of this matter was far-reaching and shocking. From then on, Yi Tianzong's position was no longer shaken by any true disciple. The Great War of 3,000 domains happens once every 3 million years. Is it going to happen in another 1,000 years? It seems like there are some things that I need to prepare early. I need to become a God King as soon as possible. Yi Tianzong stood at the top of Haoren Peak and thought about what Lin Xiantian had told him when he met the sect master and the other palace masters. In the great 1,000 domains of the human race, there would be a great war between the 3,000 domains every 3 million years. It would last for 100 years to eliminate those sects and forces that did not have the potential to develop and were not strong enough. The powers of the 3,000 domains would be ranked and some benefits would be distributed. Such a great war did not only exist in the human race's great 1,000 domains. The dragon race, the phoenix race, the demon race, and the other great 1,000 domains would also have an internal battle every 3 million years. The nature of this war was similar to the Great War of 3,000 domains in the human race's great 1,000 domains. The Great War of the 3,000 domains that happened once every 3 million years, and the Black Heaven sect had only been established for a little over 1.3 million years. Yi Tianzong could sense Lin Xiantian and the others' worries about the sect's future from their solemn expressions. Let's take it one step at a time. There are only 1,000 years left. No matter how hard I work, I can only become a God King. The great emperors are the ones who decide the life and death of the sect. The sect master has already gone into seclusion to break through to the great emperor realm. In the following time, not only do I want to become a God King, but I also want to make as many of my subordinates as possible become God Kings. It's time to settle the matters of the profound spirit world. Yi Tianzong looked at the distant horizon and made a decision in his heart. Chapter 295. Yi Tianzong continued to stay in the Black Heaven sect for another 10 years. After leaving behind a large number of origin crystals and various elixirs for the disciples on the Haoren Peak, he left the Black Heaven sect. The upper echelons of the Black Heaven sect did not mind Yi Tianzong's departure. After all, Yi Tianzong's strength had already reached the level of a God King. If he wanted to become a God King, he could do so at any time. The reason why he had not broken through was only because he wanted to accumulate more experience and comprehend more laws. After becoming a God King, cultivating a God King physique, and condensing the origin of the laws of heaven and earth, it would be more than 100 times harder to comprehend other laws of heaven and earth than before. The number of laws one comprehended was also an important measure of a God King's strength after becoming one. The laws of heaven and earth were not something that could be comprehended just because one wanted to. One could choose to cultivate in seclusion for a long time or travel the world in search of an opportunity to comprehend them. In the eyes of the upper echelons of the Black Heaven sect, Yi Tianzong's departure was undoubtedly to search for an opportunity to comprehend the laws of heaven and earth. After leaving the Black Heaven sect, Yi Tianzong found a hidden place and burrowed hundreds of miles underground. With a thought, he disappeared from the greater 1,000 world of the human race. When he regained consciousness, he appeared in front of the colorful barrier. He sighed in his heart at the unfathomable strength of the Almighty who created the immortal mansion. Yi Tianzong returned to the outer cultivation area of the immortal mansion. Looking at the beautiful Ling Xinyue and Shen Yu, Yi Tianzong hugged them and said, "I won't be leaving for a while this time. Some things have been delayed for a long time, and it's time to settle them. This time, I will become a God King, control the world, and kill the demon emperor. After 50 years, I will break through the last layer of the seal of heaven and earth." When Ling Xinyue and Shen Yu heard Yi Tianzong's resolute words, they could not help but feel nervous. They looked at Yi Tianzong worriedly, but they knew that Yi Tianzong would not change his mind easily since he had made up his mind. Then, their eyes were filled with determination. Yi Tianzong's decision to break through the last layer of the seal of heaven and earth in 50 years had also spread to all the myth realm experts in the Hao Ranjin sect. After all the myth realm experts heard this news, they clearly understood that 50 years later would be the time to decide the life and death of all living things in the world. Yi Tianzong and the higher-ups of the Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 great holy lands had a serious discussion. In order to have the greatest hope, the next time the seal of heaven and earth was broken, except for Yi Tianzong, no one else would participate in breaking through the seal of heaven and earth. This would allow Yi Tianzong to obtain all the energy from heaven and earth after breaking through to the God King realm and increase his strength to the greatest extent. Moreover, they also decided to publicize this secret that was related to the life and death of the entire world, as well as the cause and effect, so that all living things would know what they would face in the future. After making a series of decisions, Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 great holy lands also planned to completely wipe out all the disloyal forces in the profound spirit world within 10 years, and then eradicate the demon race in the western region. Today, after hundreds of years of development, the Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 great holy lands formed the sky supporting camp. In fact, the Hao Ranjin sect was already the leader. Regarding this, Lingyun Hall and Kunlun sect, the 2 former divine king inheritances, did not have any objections. This was because they greatly admired the Hao Ranjin sect's achievements over the years. In addition, with an invincible expert like Yi Tianzong, even if the Hao Ranjin sect was the leader, they would gladly accept it. In the hundreds of years since the formation of the sky supporting camp, the Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 great holy lands had secretly observed and evaluated all the super forces and holy lands in the Central Plains, Southern Wastelands, Northern Borderlands, Western Region, and the Endless Sea Realm for a long time. In the current world situation, if all the first-rate forces and above were to be roughly divided, then the Hao Ranjin sect would be the strongest super overlord of the land and the sea. Not only was it famous in the Central Plains, Southern Wastelands, Northern Borderlands, and Western Region, but no forces dared to be presumptuous. It was also known as invincible in the Endless Sea Realm. Since leading the sky supporting camp to eliminate the Penglai sect and occupy the Penglai Island, the Hao Ranjin sect had never stopped expanding its influence in the Endless Sea Realm. However, the Endless Sea Realm had countless creatures and various forces of the Sea Clan. There were more of them than the forces in the 4 major regions of the mainland. If the Hao Ranjin sect wanted to expand its influence in the Endless Sea Realm, countless forces of the Sea Clan would certainly not allow it. Therefore, the only way was to fight a bloody path and become invincible. Therefore, the Hao Ranjin sect had never stopped fighting in the Endless Sea Realm. More than half of the Myth Realm experts had joined the battle in the Endless Sea Realm. Now that more than 200 years had passed, the Hao Ranjin sect led the Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 great sacred lands to defeat all the super forces in the Endless Sea Realm. In the end, they had established the supreme status and prestige of the Endless Sea Realm. The Hao Ranjin sect was the strongest super overlord in the entire profound spirit world. Under the Hao Ranjin sect, there were 12 super forces. The Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, Taishan Sacred Lands, True Yen Sacred Lands, Heavenly Snow Sacred Lands, Ethereal Sacred Lands, Heavenly Sword Sacred Lands, Celestial Sacred Lands, Flowing Cloud Sacred Lands, Everlasting Sacred Lands, Gulan Sacred Lands, and Unfettered Sacred Lands. After so many years of development, the Taishan Sacred Lands, True Yen Sacred Lands, and Heavenly Snow Sacred Lands had gradually caught up with the Lingyun Hall and Kunlun sect. Any of the sacred lands was not much weaker than the Lingyun Hall and Kunlun sect. Now, the influence of the Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 great sacred lands had also covered the mainland and the Endless Sea Realm. They were second only to the Hao Ranjin sect. Below the Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 great sacred lands were the forces of the mainland and the endless sea realm. Below them were the super forces and first-rate forces. After a few hundred years, the Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 great sacred lands had observed and evaluated all the super forces and sacred lands in the mainland and the endless sea realm. Sigh. I didn't expect that there would be so many forces that need to be eliminated. Ambition, it's really something that can make any living being go crazy. Looking at the final result of the elimination of half of the forces, the heavenly snow sacred lord sighed and said, "Humph. Ambition with strength is an ideal. Unrealistic ambition without strength is just wishful thinking. These damned forces, for the sake of ambition, they are simply unscrupulous. There are even a few hundred super forces and sacred lands that collude with the demon race. Their deaths are not worth pitying." The heavenly sword sacred lord's face was gloomy as he said in a harsh tone. Chapter 296. Back then, we sacrificed so many disciples and put in so much effort to drive the infernal race out of the central plains. Later on, we helped the southern wilderness to drive the infernal race out. Who would have thought that in such a short time, there would be so many ambitious forces colluding with the infernal race? Why don't they know how precious it is? Ethereal Saint Master said in disappointment. Brother Ethereal, there's no need to waste your feelings on these bastards who deserve to die. Anyway, our next step is to completely eradicate the infernal race in the western region. When the time comes, we'll use these forces that have colluded with the infernal race to plot against the infernal race. At the same time, we'll bring out ironclad evidence that these forces are colluding with the infernal race. We must completely eradicate them and not let them off. Taishian Saint Master said in a cold tone. Yes, Taishian Saint Master is right. Over the years, because of our inaction, all the forces in the western region have been wiped out by the infernal race. It's time for us to reap the fruits of victory. Lingyun Hall Master agreed. Speaking of the forces in the western region, Howran Hall did not have a good impression of them at all. Since ancient times, the western region had been occupied by the Indian King of God. The Indian King of God created the Buddhism sect and advocated for a clear mind and few desires. He cultivated in seclusion in order to obtain karma and blessings in the next life. Under the influence of the Indian King of God, most of the super forces in the western region had been established with different principles. However, they were all in the category of Buddhism sect. In fact, none of the divine kings had a good impression of the Indian King of God's cultivation. However, the Indian King of God's cultivation realm was ranked in the top 3 among all the divine kings in the mythological era. He was not inferior to the Penglai divine king. Therefore, they could only allow him to develop in the western region. Later, however, the world changed and entered the ancient era. The demonic calamity broke out, and the central plains, southern wastelands, northern borderlands, and the endless seas all joined the war against the demon race. Only most factions in the western regions did not care about the matter, and instead often abducted the factions of the central plains that had been defeated by the demonic calamity, wantonly recruiting believers. It was basically the same behavior as the Penglai sect that had taken advantage of the situation. Therefore, in the hundreds of years since the world had recovered, after leading the forces of the central plains to defeat the demon race and learning the general details of all the forces in the western region, Yi Tianzong remembered the sect that he hated in his first life on earth. Therefore, the Howran Orthodox sect, Lingyun Palace, Kunlun sect, and other forces did not have any thoughts of dealing with the western region. Even when the forces of the western region came to ask for help, they did not even meet them. Didn't you advocate a clear heart and few desires and seclusion from the world to cultivate? Didn't you find an excuse not to resist the demonic tribulation? Then you can go and play by yourself now. Anyway, we will never care about you. Today, all the human forces in the western regions were basically wiped out by the demon race. Even the most powerful Indian sect in the center of the western regions was completely destroyed by the demon race 5 years ago. But in order to wipe out all the forces in the western regions, the demon race also paid a great price. Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, and other forces that had been paying attention to the movements in the western regions also clearly understood the strength of the forces in the western regions. It had to be said that although the forces in the western regions gave people a bad impression, these forces were very good at restraining the demon race. As the most powerful force in the western regions, the foundation and strength that the Indian sect showed in the final battle with the demon race also shocked all the forces in the Central Plains. There were 3 super powerhouses in the 6th heaven of the myth realm, a total of nearly 100 powerhouses in the myth realm, which was second only to the Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 Great Holy Lands. It could be said that although the forces in the western regions were almost wiped out, they also consumed a lot of the demon race's strength, which relieved a lot of pressure for the Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, and other forces to plan the final general attack against the demon race. After discussing and formulating the next detailed plan, the Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 Great Holy Lands began their respective operations. A month later, all the non-demon creatures in the profound spirit world were in an uproar because of the news announced by the Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 Great Holy Lands. I didn't expect that our world would still have such a big crisis. What should we do? In a restaurant in the Tianjiao city of the Central Plains, 2 young Wu Zun realm disciples were discussing with dejected expressions. Is there a 9th heaven in the myth realm? The most powerful powerhouse in our world is the 6th heaven of the myth realm. In the peak era, only the 7th heaven of the God King was born. In a corner of the supreme holy city, a Wu Xing realm powerhouse muttered to himself in shock. So this is the truth of this world. 6th heaven of the gods, 7th heaven of the God King, 8th heaven of the great emperor, and an evil demon emperor is sealed and suppressed in the depths of the world. He can escape at any time. I really don't know if it's a blessing or a curse for us to come here. A myth realm powerhouse in the northern borderline, who originally belonged to the Yuanling world, said with a wry smile. Alas, this secret was made public in the end. It's good that it was made public. At least if we can't resist it in the future, everyone will know how we died. Heaven and earth are recovering, the seal is broken, and the suppressed demon emperor is about to escape. I don't know if the one in the Hao Ranjin sect is confident. In the southern wasteland, a powerhouse in the 5th heaven of the myth realm who had existed since the mythological era sighed with a heavy heart. There are still 50 years left. We should do our best to increase our strength. Although the final decisive battle depends on the one in the Hao Ranjin sect, it's always good to have one more God King. In the boundless sea, an overlord of the sea tribe at the peak of the 6th heaven of the myth realm muttered to himself. Haha! The supreme demon ancestor is about to escape. This world will eventually be destroyed, and we will all return to the embrace of the demon ancestor. The demon gods who had gathered in the western regions looked in the direction of the underground respectfully. Bloodthirsty said excitedly. In the Central Plains, the western regions, the northern borderline, the southern wasteland, and the boundless sea, creatures and demons in all places were boiling because of the news announced by the Hao Ranjin sect, the Lingyun Hall, the Kunlun sect, and the 10 Great Holy Lands. At the same time, in the Central Plains, the southern wasteland, and the northern borderline, some forces with different ambitions took advantage of this turbulent period to start their own plans. After the Hao Ranjin sect, the Lingyun Hall, the Kunlun sect, and the 10 Great Holy Lands announced the final secret of the spirit profound world and the news that the last seal of heaven and earth would be broken in 50 years, in just half a month, there were all kinds of criticism, sarcasm, and malicious slander against the Hao Ranjin sect, the Lingyun Hall, the Kunlun sect, and the 10 Great Holy Lands in the Central Plains, the southern wasteland, and the northern borderline. Under the influence of many ambitious forces, these malicious remarks swept across the central plains, the southern wasteland, and the northern borderline in a short time. The Hao Ranjin sect, the Lingyun Hall, the Kunlun sect, and the 10 great holy lands seemed to have become evil forces overnight that were guilty of heinous crimes. Chapter 297. In Haoran's palace, the upper echelons of Hao Ranjin sect, the Lingyun Hall master, Kunlun sect master, and the 10 sacred masters gathered together once again. At this moment, everyone's complexion wasn't very good. Sacred Master Xiaoyao slapped the armrest of his chair and said angrily, "These bastards don't know what's good for them. I originally wanted to keep them for a while longer, but these people with evil intentions actually dared to wantonly slander us. And those people who were bewitched simply can't differentiate right from wrong and are incomparably stupid. The sacrifices we made in the past to resist the demon race, and the contributions we made to the Central Plains were so easily thrown to the back of their minds and turned a blind eye to them. Is this the reason why we've been developing with all our might and raising our strength to protect the living beings?" Kunlun sect master also said with a gloomy expression, "Sacred Master Xiaoyao is right. We've been careless and underestimated how evil people can be. Originally, we only wanted to let the living beings know the secrets of the world. Even if we fail in the future, we can die knowing why. Can we be safe if we don't break the seal of heaven and earth? What a laughable idea." Sacred Master Lu Yun said with a heavy heart, "Ha. Now, even those ordinary people in the Central Plains are questioning and belittling us without any respect. I've been wondering if we've been too benevolent and protected them too well. If it weren't for our forces, the devil race in the western regions would have already made a comeback. Would those forces that only know how to fight among themselves be able to stop the devil race?" Yi Haoran's eyes revealed a resolute expression and said, "Since the situation is like this, then we don't need to worry anymore. We might as well completely destroy these forces with evil intentions in advance. In any case, with our current strength, the existence of these forces won't have much of an impact on us defeating the demon race. Do they really think that these so-called rumors can affect us? They think that they can restrain us with the so-called words of the living beings? They're underestimating us too much. They don't even know how much we've grown. The living beings of the world do indeed need to be respected and protected by us. However, those ignorant so-called living beings who can't differentiate right from wrong aren't needed by the world and aren't within the scope of our protection. In the past, we could still slowly deal with these people, but now we don't have time. If we continue to drag it out, the suppressed demon emperor will have more time to recover his strength. Now that the situation is forced, to ensure stability in the future, we can only bloodily suppress them. Does anyone have any other opinions? Opinions? What opinions could there be? The sect master, Kunlun sect master, and the 10 sacred masters, who were present, were all infuriated by Yi Haoran's words, and had no opinions of opinion on Yez's bloody suppression. Suppression. Only, if you dare to offend our hall, and if you dare to offend us, dare to you. After making the decision, the sect master of Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect master, and the 10 sacred masters returned to their respective forces. Then, they began to mobilize their forces to suppress those who slandered them and those who spread rumors. Just as Yi Haoran had said, all the forces in the Central Plains, southern wasteland, northern border, and the boundless ocean could not imagine how powerful the Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 sacred lands had become. From the time the camp formed by the 13 forces was named the Sky Supporting Camp, it was clear that their goal was to become the Sky Supporting Camp of the Spirit Profound World in the future. And the most basic thing to become the Sky Supporting Camp was to have the most powerful strength. Ever since they attacked and occupied Penglai Island, Yi Tianzong and the higher-ups of the Hao Ranjin sect discussed and began to intentionally support Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 sacred lands, so that they could become as powerful as possible. For this reason, with Yi Tianzong's approval, the higher-ups of the Hao Ranjin sect decided to open up the God Essence pills, God Body pills, God Soul pills, Divine Connection pills, Heavenly Spirit Formation, the construction method of the first battle fortress and the Sky Patrol battleship, and the super teleportation formation to the Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 sacred lands. As long as they could afford it, they could buy and exchange anything they wanted from the Hao Ranjin sect. The boundless ocean was several times larger than the land. The richness of the various resources far exceeded the land's output. The Hao Ranjin sect led Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 sacred lands to use Penglai Island as a springboard. After more than 100 years of war, they had already conquered the entire boundless ocean. Every day they could collect an uncountable amount of resources and materials. With the vast amount of resources and materials collected from the land and the sea at all times, after more than 100 years, not to mention the Hao Ranjin sect, even the Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 sacred lands had developed continuously. Now they each had at least 10 battle fortresses that were 25 miles long and at least 100 Sky Patrol battleships. At the same time that they had these battle fortresses and Sky Patrol battleships, Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 sacred lands had gathered at least 10 million disciples. The strength of Wu Xing's strength had reached 100,000, and there were at least 500 myth realm elite. As for the strongest sect, Hao Ranjin sect, they had 20 battle fortresses and more than 300 Sky Patrol battleships. Even though there were very few elites who reached Myth Realm over the years, the number of Myth Realm elites in Hao Ranjin sect had already reached 2,300. Among them, there were more than 60 people who had reached 5th heaven of Myth Realm. As of now, only Yi Tianzong and Yi Tianzong's family had reached 6th heaven of Myth Realm. With the addition of Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 sacred lands, Hao Ranjin sect had more than 8,000 Myth Realm elites, more than 140 battle fortresses, and more than 1,500 Sky Patrol battleships. They also had Yi Tianzong, Ling Xinyue, and Xin Yu, 3 super elites who could be said to be invincible in the world. They could definitely defeat any force in the Chinese plains, West region, northern borderlands, and southern wastelands. Besides, Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 sacred lands were not alone. Each of them had at least 20 affiliated forces that followed them. In the face of such an unstoppable force, all schemes would not be able to withstand a single blow. Due to the actions of Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 sacred lands, a bloody storm broke out in the Chinese plains, southern wastelands, and northern borderlands. All the forces from Sky Pillar's camp rode on battle fortresses that were the size of cities and nimble and swift Sky Patrol battleships as they flew in the boundless sky. As all the Myth Realm elites moved out in full force, they suppressed all the people and forces of power who dared to create rumors and slander Sky Pillar's camp. All the forces of power and living beings in the Chinese plains, southern wastelands, and northern borderlands were shocked by the decisive and domineering actions of Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 sacred lands. At the same time, they were also shocked by the strength and power they displayed. Regardless of whether it was the Chinese plains, southern wastelands, or northern borderlands, almost all the forces of power had never seen Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 sacred lands use such bloody and domineering methods, because Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, and the other forces of power had always used gentler methods. They had never engaged in large-scale slaughter. They had also never thought that such forces of power as Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, and the other forces of power would decide to massacre the world because of rumors and slander. The powerful divine light of destruction released by the battle fortresses that were the size of cities was enough to destroy the matrix protecting a super force of power and a sacred land. It could also kill a martial artist at the first or second heaven of Myth Realm. Every time a Sky Patrol battleship that was 5 miles long attacked, it could also kill a lot of martial artists at the level of Wuxing. Every day there were powerful super forces and sacred lands that were completely destroyed by Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 sacred lands. They were completely eradicated. Every day there were countless humans and demons who were mercilessly wiped out because they slandered Sky Pillar. All the living beings who were close to them were not spared either. The cruel and overbearing bloody suppression. Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 sacred lands had originally only used it on the demon race and the countless sea race in the boundless ocean. Now, due to various reasons, all the forces and living beings in the Chinese plains, southern wastelands, and northern borderlands finally saw the terrifying situation of their anger and experienced their invincible strength to dominate the world. So terrifying, so powerful. Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 sacred lands were angered by all kinds of rumors and slander. Are they going to massacre the world and suppress all those who slander them? Fortunately, my spirit desolate Holy Land did not participate. Otherwise, we would not have been able to withstand their thunderous anger. Spirit desolate Holy Lord looked at the Myth Realm experts, as well as the war fortresses and Sky Patrol battleships, who had just wiped out a neighboring sacred ground force and then flew over his own territory with murderous intent. He could not help but rejoice. Spirit desolate Holy Lord was not the only one who felt fortunate. Most of the sacred lands and super forces in the southern wastelands felt extremely fortunate. Fortunately, when all kinds of rumors and slander were rampant, they felt uneasy and did not participate in it to protect themselves. Now, it seemed that their decision back then was very correct. No one would have thought that Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 sacred lands would be so terrifying when they were angry. They would directly and cruelly massacre all living beings. In the southern and northern wastelands, there were relatively few forces and living beings who slandered Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 sacred lands. Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, and the other forces had only sent out 2 war fortresses, 20 Sky Patrol battleships, and 30 Myth Realm experts. The place that really needed to be cleaned was the Central Plains. Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 sacred lands had almost all come out. In just half a month, they had already suppressed and massacred more than 120 super forces and sacred lands, as well as more than 300 first-rate forces. Chapter 298. As for the rogue cultivators who were destroyed, they were simply uncountable. However, this was far from enough. According to the information collected by Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 Holy Lands over the years, these forces that should have been destroyed were not even 1/6 of them. Currently, in the Central Plains, the Southern Wasteland, and the Northern Borderline, sects and forces that had Myth Realm experts, and the strongest was at Myth Realm 3rd Sky. Forces with Myth Realm 4th Sky, and above could be called Holy Land. The cleansing plan launched by Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 Holy Lands lasted for 3 whole years. The number of super forces and holy lands that were suppressed and annihilated exceeded 800. The number of first-rate, second-rate, and third-rate forces that were wiped out exceeded 7,000. The number of rogue cultivators who were massacred was even more uncountable. Although the Holy Lands, super forces, first-rate, second-rate, and third-rate forces that were annihilated and attacked resisted with all their strength and left behind all kinds of backups, under the attack of the Sky Pillar camp formed by Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 Holy Lands, as well as hundreds of affiliated forces, they were completely powerless to resist. Even the various backups left behind by the annihilated forces were collected by the Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, and the other forces that spread all over the profound spirit world, which was all-pervasive and completely eliminated all future troubles. The bloody massacre that lasted for 3 whole years finally stopped. When all the forces and experts of the Sky Pillar camp gradually retreated, all the forces in the Central Plains, the southern wasteland, and the northern borderline finally put down their worries and heaved a long sigh of relief. Only God knew how torturous these 3 years were for them. Every day felt like a year. They were constantly worried that the massacre of the Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 Holy Lands would affect them. After witnessing the strength of the Sky Pillar camp, none of the factions dared to resist. The difference in strength was too great. Perhaps the combined strength of all the remaining forces could surpass the strength of the Sky Pillar camp. However, one shouldn't forget that the Sky Pillar camp still had Yi Tianzong, Ling Xinyue, and Xin Yu. These 3 were unrivaled experts in the world. The experts of the 6th heavenly layer of the myth realm were like ants in front of them. They could easily destroy them. Who could resist the attacks of these 3 experts? No one. Therefore, all the powers in the Central Plains, Southern Wasteland, and Northern Border could only watch in fear as the Sky Pillar camp ran amok in the entire profound spirit world, mercilessly cleansing the world. 3 years had passed, and the forces in the 3 regions had decreased by about 1/5. It greatly intimidated all living beings in the world. After 3 years of bloody suppression, all the factions and rogue cultivators who dared to offend and slander the Sky Pillar camp were almost completely annihilated by the Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, and the others. At this time, the Lingyun Hall master, Kunlun sect master, and the 10 holy masters once again came to the Hao Ranjin sect. In the Haoran Hall, the Lingyun Hall master, Kunlun sect master, and the 10 holy masters discussed with the higher-ups of the Hao Ranjin sect. They decided to hold the strongest prodigy competition and the strongest Wu Xing competition in the Central Plains, Southern Wasteland, and Northern Border in 5 years. At the same time, taking advantage of the fact that all the higher-ups of the factions were present, they decided to launch an all-out attack on the Western Region Demon Clan in the 3rd year after the competition. Soon, the news of the tournament of the strongest geniuses and the tournament of the strongest martial sage, which would be held in 5 years, spread throughout the Central Plains, the Southern Wilderness, and the Northern Border. The venue of the tournament was in the supreme sacred city of the Central Plains. After the news was announced, the Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 holy masters fell into a state of quiet dormancy. 5 years passed quickly. The strongest prodigy competition and the strongest Wu Xing competition, which involved the 3 regions, were held as scheduled. It lasted for a total of 3 months. During these 3 months, the prodigies from the Central Plains, Southern Wasteland, and Northern Border, as well as the powerhouses from Wu Xing, displayed their strengths in the competition and competed for the best. In the end, 365 powerhouses from each of the 5 levels, namely Wu Zong, Marquis Wu, Wu King, Wu Zun, and Wu Xing, were determined to be the strongest. These people were all from the tens of thousands of participants in the 3 regions who had gone through many battles and finally reached the top. Each of them was an outstanding person with a combination of luck and talent. The people and beasts that emerged victorious all received very generous rewards. At the end of the competition, Yi Haoran also announced on behalf of the Sky Pillar camp that the strongest prodigy competition and the strongest Wu Xing competition of the profound spirit world would be held every 20 years. And during the 3 months of the competition, the Hao Ranjin sect, Lingyun Hall, Kunlun sect, and the 10 holy masters gathered and discussed. They finally finalized the plan to attack the Western Region Demon Clan in 3 years. In the plan, all the forces who participated in the attack on the Western Region Demon Clan would be distributed according to their contribution. Whoever contributed more would receive more. Regarding this proposal, the people of the original Yuan Ling world located in the northern border were the most enthusiastic. Because even after the expansion of the world, the northern border alone was still not enough to accommodate the hundreds of billions of creatures in their world. Now, the entire northern border was already overcrowded. If they could get enough places in the western region and distribute the population, then the pressure on these forces would be reduced by a lot. 3 years of time passed while all the forces in the Central Plains, southern wasteland, and northern border were preparing. During this process, the demon clan who had already occupied the western region naturally discovered the movements of the Central Plains, southern wasteland, and northern border. Naturally, it was not difficult to guess that they were going to make a move against them. Therefore, the demon clan also gathered their forces. At the same time, they set up all kinds of powerful defensive and offensive demonic formations in the western region. On this day, on the border between the western region and the Central Plains, an endless number of humans and monsters from the 3 regions gathered here. The vast and boundless army's aura soared to the sky, and their killing intent soared. In the sky above the boundless army, all kinds of large-scale war weapons were also floating in the air, covering the sky and covering the sun. The war fortresses and sky-patrolling warships of the Hao Ranjun sect, the Lingyun Hall, the Kunlun sect, and the 10 Holy Lands were proudly floating in the air at the forefront. Yi Tianzong's expression became serious. With an order, tens of billions of boundless armies instantly crossed the border and went straight to the base camp of the demon clan in the western region. The base camp of the demon clan in the western region, the Endless Abyss, was tens of billions of miles away from the border of the western region. It was naturally impossible to fly directly over such a long distance. It would take a very long time to get there. This time, in an all-out attack on the western region, most of the Myth Realm experts and half of the Wu Xing level experts first went deep into the hinterland of the western region, and then opened up a large enough safe area to directly build a super teleportation formation. After hundreds of years of continuous experiments by the people of the Formation and Tools Hall of the Hao Ranjun sect, the teleportation range of each super teleportation formation remained the same. It was still a distance of 1 billion to 10 billion miles, but the number of people it could teleport had increased to 30,000, and the time interval between 2 activations had been shortened to half a minute. This time, all the first-rate forces in the Central Plains, the Southern Wasteland, and the Northern Borderland had all contributed materials and resources to build the super teleportation formation. Therefore, this time, 1,000 super teleportation formations were built at once, and they were distributed in an area of 1 million miles. Countless armies from the Central Plains, the Southern Wasteland, and the Northern Borderland were constantly advancing into the depths of the western region. Some of the strongholds of the demon clan and various dangerous traps along the way were completely ignored. These were just the demon clan's tricks to stall for time. As long as the demon clan's base camp in the western region was destroyed, the rest of the demon clan could be slowly cleaned up. Because in the demon clan's base camp, there was the only underground space passage from the demon clan's world to the entire western region. The demon clan absolutely could not lose it. Now, the spirit profound world, which was only 1 step away from being able to recover to its peak, was really too big. Just the entire western region alone was hundreds of billions of miles in length and breadth. It was extremely vast. The Endless Army passed through the Super Transmission Formation, and after more than 2 years of continuous transmission, they arrived at a place 1 billion kilometers away from the Endless Abyss. This place was already very close to the demon race's base camp, and the demon race had also organized a monstrous demon chi, and an earth-shattering defensive line was set up here. In order to ensure the safe arrival of the follow-up army, except for the 30,000 Myth Realm experts who stayed behind to prevent the sneak attacks of the demon clan's demon gods, more than 160,000 Myth Realm experts from the other 3 regions launched a devastating attack on the demon clan's camp under the leadership of Yi Tianzong. Although the demon clan worked hard to develop, the number of demon gods was less than 70,000. The gap in strength was very obvious. However, the Endless Abyss could not be given up, and the demon clan could only do their best to resist. Moreover, the demon clan was not without the strength to resist. Not long after fighting with the demon gods of the demon clan, the myth realm experts from the Central Plains, the southern wasteland, and the northern frontier felt very troublesome. Because the strength of these demon gods was very strong. A person of the same level was no match for them at all. Only the myth realm experts of the Hao Ranjin sect could suppress the demon god. As for the rest of the myth realm experts, only the people of the Lingyun Hall, the Kunlun sect, and the 10 Holy Lands could compete with the demon gods. The myth realm experts of the other forces could not defeat the demon gods of the demon clan at all. They could only fight 2 against 1 or 3 against 1. This made the myth realm experts from the Central Plains, the southern wasteland, and the northern frontier somewhat doubt their lives. How could the demon gods of the demon clan be so strong? It was not like this when they fought before. Could it be that the demon clan had cheated? Although most of the myth realm experts were very puzzled in their hearts, now was a battle of life and death, and there was no room for any distraction. Therefore, all of them erased the distracting thoughts and fought the demon gods of the demon clan with all their strength. So what if the demon clan had cheated? We have more people. If one of us can't defeat the demon clan, we will fight 2 of you. If 2 of us can't defeat the demon clan, we will fight 3 of you. I don't believe that the demon clan can make a comeback. Yi Tianzong seriously injured a demon god of the 5th heaven of the myth realm. Then, he held the demon god in his hand and forcibly searched his soul. Finally, he understood the reason why the demon gods of the demon clan suddenly became so strong. One thought to become Buddha, another to become demon. Is Buddha and demon in one? It seemed that there were always some things in the universe that were connected. Chapter 299. Yi Tianzong searched the souls of the demon gods of the demon clan and understood the reason for the increase in strength of these demon gods. It was because of the major forces in the western region that had been annihilated by the demon clan. In Yi Tianzong's first world, there was a saying, one thought to become a Buddha, one thought to become a demon, one thought to become a demon, Buddha and demon are one. In the process of Yi Tianzong's previous worlds, he had encountered similar situations, but Yi Tianzong did not expect such a thing to happen in the profound spirit world. In the past, the Indian god king of the mythological era created the Buddhist Tao, but he did not expect that the demon clan would use it and increase their strength. If it were not for the fact that the myth realm experts of the Hao Ranjin sect all cultivated Haoran morality, they might not be able to deal with the demon gods of the demon clan so easily. Yi Tianzong sighed in his heart, but he did not stand by and do nothing. He also attacked the demon gods of the demon clan. Although the strength of these demon gods had increased greatly, they were still ants in the eyes of Yi Tianzong. He casually waved out an endless river of Haoran sword qi, and then under the control of Yi Tianzong, the endless powerful sword qi was divided into thousands and tens of thousands of sword qi and attacked the demon gods of the demon clan. In addition to Yi Tianzong, Ling Xinyue and Xin Yu, the 2 super experts who were second only to Yi Tianzong, also attacked at the same time. Under the guidance of Yi Tianzong and the accumulation of countless resources, Ling Xinyue and Xin Yu had already cultivated the 9 revolutions of the true God to the 8th revolution through the all-encompassing formation in the immortal mansion. Their strength was far beyond the peak of the 6th heavenly layer of the myth realm, and they had stepped into the threshold of the God-King realm. The myriad phenomena limitless formation was a formation that Yi Tianzong had specially set up for Ling Xinyue and Xin Yu by using the superior environment of the immortal abode, using 20 God-King level materials, 3 Emperor level materials, and 3 million origin crystals. Yi Tianzong's experience in the world battlefield was completely replicated in the all-encompassing forest array. Once Ling Xinyue and Xin Yu entered the array, they would face the situation that Yi Tianzong had faced in the world battlefield. All of the enemies in the array had 50% of their strength. Ling Xinyue and Shen, you were also able to successfully cultivate the 9 revolutions of the true God because of the training of the all-encompassing limitless formation. Ling Xinyue and Shen, you turned into 2 supreme moons. Under the holy and divine light of the moons, all the demon gods that were illuminated by the divine light of the moons were purified and disappeared. Yi Tianzong, Ling Xinyue, and Shen Yu took action, and the whole battle situation was completely reversed. Hundreds and thousands of demon gods of the demon clan fell. However, the demon gods of the demon clan were also ruthless characters. After seeing that the situation was unfavorable and there was no hope of escaping, they directly self-destructed. This self-destruction caught many of the myth realm elites off guard. Many of them were heavily injured by the demon god's self-destruction, and some of them were even unlucky enough to die on the spot. When a demon god of the first heaven of the myth realm self-destructed, even the experts of the third heaven of the myth realm did not dare to resist. The self-destruction of the demon gods of the demon clan directly led to the death of more than 10,000 myth realm experts, and more than 30,000 myth realm experts were injured. In the end, less than 20,000 demon gods of the demon clan took the opportunity of self-destruction to escape back to the endless abyss. Running away could not solve the problem. With so many of their companions dead, the myth realm humans and divine beasts from the central plains, the southern wasteland, and the northern frontier were completely annoyed. Relying on their numbers, they directly chased to the demon clan's headquarters, the endless abyss, and launched a destructive large-scale attack. Yi Tianzong, Ling Xinyue, and Shen Yu swept away all the demon gods along the way, and directly came to the space passage in the depths of the endless abyss that led to the underground demon clan's world. In the past, Yi Tianzong's strength was not enough, so he did not dare to rashly enter the underground demon clan's world through the space passage. But now, although he was at the peak of the 6th heaven of the myth realm, he already had the strength to fight with an ordinary expert at the peak of the Divine King realm. Naturally, he would not be afraid of the slightest thing. Yi Tianzong asked Ling Xinyue and Shen Yu to guard the space passage. Then, he turned into a streamer and directly entered the space passage filled with demon chi. The underground demon clan's world was actually a vast space opened up by people. The space was also very strong. It was located hundreds of miles deep underground and tens of billions of miles wide. Yi Tianzong soon passed through the space passage and entered the underground demon clan's world. The underground demon clan's world was dark. Yi Tianzong's spirit power came out of his body and covered an area of hundreds of millions of miles in a flash. The demon clan's world was also rioting because of Yi Tianzong, an obviously uninvited guest. Very soon, the demon gods stationed in the demon clan's world came towards Yi Tianzong. When Yi Tianzong saw these rapidly approaching demon gods, he casually grabbed one of them and searched his soul. After understanding the basic situation of the underground demon clan's world, Yi Tianzong did not have the mood to talk nonsense. He directly unleashed his full strength and killed to the end. Tyrannical and invincible strength ran rampant in the underground demon clan's world. The several hundred demon gods stationed in the demon clan's world did not have any resistance to Yi Tianzong. After Yi Tianzong launched dozens of purifying divine light attacks that illuminated the dark demon clan's world, all the demon gods were completely wiped out by Yi Tianzong. After wiping out all the demon gods, Yi Tianzong did not stop attacking. In this demon clan's world that spanned tens of billions of miles, there were countless demon clans below the myth realm. Yi Tianzong did not intend to let them go. This time, Yi Tianzong planned to completely destroy all the demon clans, including this underground demon clan's world. Yi Tianzong wanted to destroy all the demon clans, including this underground demon clan's world. According to the information that Yi Tianzong obtained from searching the souls of some demon gods just now, the reason why these abyss demons destroyed everything and killed any living beings they saw was actually to extract the corrosive and filthy power of blood and resentment from the countless dead living beings, so as to help Wushang demon ancestor, who was suppressed in the depths of the underground, break the seal, so that Wushang demon ancestor could recover his strength and escape as soon as possible. This vast underground demon clan's world, that spanned tens of billions of miles, was also opened up by Wushang demon ancestor in the mythological era. Yi Tianzong's purpose was to completely purify all the demon clans, and then destroy this demon clan's world. Besides making the demon clan completely extinct, he also wanted to cut off the channel for the sealed demon emperor to continue absorbing the resentment power of blood and resentment of the countless living beings, so as to accelerate his recovery. Yi Tianzong operated the heavenly scripture of purification with all his strength, and the divine essence in his body transformed into the most divine and holy power of purification. Then, his whole body seemed to be like a brilliant sun that illuminated all living beings, erupting with an incomparable world-purifying brilliance. Yi Tianzong's strength, which was comparable to that of a peak-stage god-king, erupted with all his strength, and the most divine and holy world-purifying divine light illuminated the entire underground demon clan's world. All the demon clans in the underground demon clan's world screamed miserably under the illumination of the world-purifying divine light. In just half a quarter of an hour, the entire underground demon clan's world regained its tranquility. Countless demon clans disappeared without a trace, and the demon clan's world, which originally had countless demon clans, became empty without any signs of life. After Yi Tianzong had just purified all the demon clans, he immediately felt an extremely powerful aura locking onto him. Yi Tianzong immediately summoned the boundless divine sword, and a set of golden battle armor appeared on his body. He looked in front of him with full vigilance. A black demon shadow, whose entire body was filled with killing and destructive aura, appeared 100 miles in front of Yi Tianzong. The black demon shadow's demonic qi overflowed to the sky, and its face could not be seen clearly. However, its entire body was sealed by layers of powerful seals, and there were 108 swords that shone with a stone brilliance, arranged according to the heavenly dipper earthly fiend array. Other than these, the outermost layer of the profound spirit world's 3,000 laws of heaven and earth were firmly bound by chains, providing power to the powerful seals and the 108 swords. Unlike any of the enemies that Yi Tianzong had encountered in the profound spirit world, the black demon shadow gave Yi Tianzong a lot of pressure. The black demon shadow stared at Yi Tianzong, and an endless amount of willpower and pressure surged towards Yi Tianzong. With a sharp killing intent and pressure, it said, "Humph! Human clan's ant, submit to this emperor, and become this emperor's servant. Otherwise, when this emperor escapes, you will suffer the pain of hell, and will never be able to reincarnate." Yi Tianzong saw that the black demon shadow in front of him, who was bound by layers of seals, was the incarnation of the demon emperor that was sealed. After hearing the black demon shadow's words, Yi Tianzong did not cower, and said with the same killing intent, "F***CKU, what are you pretending for? You're just a shitty demon emperor that was sealed, and you still dare to threaten me. Do you really think that this young master is afraid of you? This young master cannot touch your main body now, but this incarnation of yours, this young master has decided to completely destroy it." Chapter 300. After seeing the incarnation of the demon emperor, Yi Tianzong's sense of urgency lessened by 30%. This was because he realized that the situation of the demon emperor being sealed was quite different from what he had predicted before. First of all, what truly sealed the demon emperor was not the 3,000 laws of heaven and earth of the profound spirit world, but the layers of powerful seals laid down by an unknown expert, as well as the 108 stone swords. Their purpose was to prevent the demon emperor from communicating with the laws to recover his strength. The 3,000 laws of heaven and earth of the profound spirit world were only used to provide the energy for the seal. Myth Realm's 7th Heaven Divine King experts condensed the origin of the laws of heaven and earth. Myth Realm 8th Heaven Great Emperor experts placed their divine souls in the long river of laws. Myth Realm 9th Heaven Heavenly Sovereign controlled the long river of laws and merged with heaven and earth. The demon emperor that was suppressed in the depths of the profound spirit world was sealed by layers of seals, cutting off the connection between his divine soul and the long river of laws. He was unable to use the long river of laws to recover his strength. This way, even if Yi Tianzong broke all the seals of heaven and earth in a few decades, it would only cut off the profound spirit world's ability to continue providing energy for the seals and swords. The suppressed demon emperor would need at least 10 years to completely break free from the seal because of his injuries. This way, Yi Tianzong would have at least 10 years to maneuver. Using this time, Yi Tianzong could continue to increase his strength in the world battlefield, and then fight the demon emperor to the death. Yi Tianzong's misgivings had lessened by a lot. Facing the demon emperor's incarnation in front of him, he naturally did not have a good expression. Once his temper rose, he did not care about the demon emperor's incarnation in front of him. Wearing the armor made of emperor-level divine materials, he held the boundless divine sword and slashed at the demon emperor's incarnation. Facing the incarnation of the demon emperor, Yi Tianzong had no intention of holding back. He used all his strength right from the start. The indestructible boundless divine sword turned into a huge golden sword under the wave of Yi Tianzong. It cut through the space and time, carrying a destructive power that could destroy everything in the world, and attacked the incarnation of the demon emperor. The devil emperor's avatar was furious that Yi Tianzong had taken the initiative to attack him. He was furious that Yi Tianzong, a puny sixth heaven god, had dared to offend his majesty. He roared, and a huge shadow devil claw appeared. It seemed to have emerged from the endless evil of the devil abyss. It carried monstrous devil flames as it grabbed the sword. The extreme yang, extreme divine, and extreme holy golden divine sword collided with the extreme dark shadow demon claw. Suddenly, incomparably violent and chaotic energy swept across hundreds of millions of miles of heaven and earth. The entire underground demon realm was shaken by the collision between Yi Tianzong and the demon emperor's incarnation. Huge cracks appeared in the originally solid space due to the collision of extremely powerful attack. Yi Tianzong and the demon emperor's avatar retreated dozens of kilometers at the same time. They then looked at each other. Neither of them had the upper hand in the first confrontation. They were evenly matched. The demon emperor's avatar couldn't believe that he couldn't do anything to Yi Tianzong. According to his previous confrontation with Yi Tianzong, when the seal of heaven and earth was broken, Yi Tianzong, who was only at the sixth heaven of myth, shouldn't have such strength. His avatar had the strength of an ordinary peak divine king. Logically speaking, it should have been easy for him to deal with Yi Tianzong. How could this be the result? The demon emperor's avatar couldn't understand. But even if he couldn't figure it out, he paid a huge price to condense such an avatar. His purpose was to kill Yi Tianzong. Therefore, he waved his arms. Suddenly, hundreds of shadow devil claws appeared in the endless devil chi. They attacked with a power that could shatter heaven and earth, vowing to crush Yi Tianzong into pieces. Yi Tianzong snorted coldly. He didn't want to be outdone. His aura multiplied several times. The mighty divine origin in his body boiled. His whole person was like a sacred red sun, blooming with infinite divine light. The boundless divine sword, which was originally tens of thousands of meters in size, immediately erupted into a sword pillar that soared into the sky. It broke through the ground that was hundreds of kilometers deep. The mighty power spread in all directions, instantly attracting the attention of everyone on the ground and in the sky. The sword pillar soared into the sky and then split into hundreds of huge swords. They fought fiercely against the demon emperor's avatar's attack. The wanton and violent power swept through the entire underground demon world. This time, the underground demon world was no longer able to withstand the attacks of Yi Tianzong and the demon emperor's avatar. Hundreds of millions of kilometers of heaven and earth were shattered by the attacks of Yi Tianzong and the Demon Emperor's avatar. Then they disappeared. Yi Tianzong and the Demon Emperor's avatar clashed in the underground demon world. The tens of billions of kilometers of the demon world shook incessantly. The tens of billions of kilometers above the demon world also shook violently. Mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. Yi Tianzong was worried about the living beings on the ground. After clashing with the Demon Emperor's avatar a few more times, the entire underground demon world was shattered. Then, he turned into a stream of light and left the broken demon world through the spatial passage of the western region's endless abyss. The Demon Emperor's avatar, who wanted to destroy Yi Tianzong, did not stop. He directly chased after Yi Tianzong into the spatial passage with monstrous demon qi. In the spatial passage, Yi Tianzong had already told Ling Xinyue and Xin Yu to withdraw from the spatial passage when the Demon Emperor's avatar had just appeared. At the same time, he also asked them to disperse the Myth Realm experts near the endless abyss. After Yi Tianzong flew out of the spatial passage, he turned around and slashed out a 1,000-meter-long sword qi. Then, he flew into the sky. Immediately after, the Demon Emperor's avatar waved his hand and destroyed Yi Tianzong's sword qi. With a roar that shook the world, he turned into a beam of demon light and also flew into the sky. The speed of Yi Tianzong and the Demon Emperor's avatar was very fast. Those Myth Realm experts who had already withdrawn from the endless abyss had just recovered from the monstrous aura of Yi Tianzong and the Demon Emperor's avatar. Before they could decide to fly into the sky to watch the battle, they felt two world-destroying auras sweep through the world. One of the auras was sacred to Howren, and the other was evil and gloomy. These two completely different auras had only one thing in common: they were too powerful. They were so powerful that they could destroy the world. They were so powerful that all the Myth Realm experts could not summon any thoughts of resistance. These were two existences that completely surpassed them in terms of life essence and level. They could not be compared to them at all. This is the aura of a divine king. It's much stronger than the cloud-soaring divine king. How is it possible? How can such a powerful existence be born in our world? The current world does not allow people to break through to the divine king realm. That person from Hao Ranjin sect, he was already so powerful at the 6th heavenly layer of the myth realm? What kind of existence is this? A 5th heavenly layer Lingyun Hall expert who had survived from the mythological era said in disbelief. This 5th heavenly layer expert had once felt the aura of a divine king from the cloud-soaring divine king, but compared to his impression of the cloud-soaring divine king, Yi Tianzong's aura was far more powerful. He was not the only one who felt this way. Even the 5th heavenly layer expert of the Kunlun sect, who had once felt the aura of the Kunlun divine king, also felt extremely incredulous. Regardless of the feelings of these myth realm experts at low altitude, Yi Tianzong had once again engaged in a fierce battle with the Demon Emperor's avatar. High in the sky, Yi Tianzong had also let go of all his scruples and restrictions. His aura was raised to the peak, and his strength was on par with the Demon Emperor's avatar. Looking up at the sky from below, one could clearly see two huge vortexes, one gold and one dark, sweeping across 10 billion miles of heaven and earth. They sometimes met in the high and boundless sky, and were fiercely confronting each other. Every time they met, the whole world would shake, the world's yuan qi would riot, and the space would shatter. Even the distant four regions and the boundless sea would be shaken. Everyone's heart seemed to be hit hard again and again with the confrontation. Chapter 301. Too powerful. Too terrifying. Looking at the two vast whirlpools in the sky, all the myth realm experts and the demon gods of the demon clan were in disbelief. Yi Tianzong waved the boundless godly sword, and used the boundless sword technique that he had reorganized and deduced. The new boundless sword technique had a total of 9 moves, and incorporated some of the laws of heaven and earth that Yi Tianzong had comprehended. The first move was one sword separates the world, the second move was boundless cold ray, the third move was cloud slashing celestial slaying, the fourth move was Howren's heavenly dipper, the fifth move was infinite sword, the sixth move was eternal vitality, the seventh move was stellar transposition, the eighth move was massacre the world, and the ninth move was traversing the ages. Infinite sword. Yi Tianzong's expression was cold. He used all his strength, and the endless divine origin in his body followed a special method to form an endless river of destructive sword qi. With the power to destroy everything, it surged towards the Demon Emperor's incarnation in an unstoppable manner. The Demon Emperor's incarnation was not afraid of Yi Tianzong's destructive sword qi river. His hands formed a seal and his aura surged. Behind him, a boundless dark shadow world appeared. Then, countless dark shadow demon soldiers surged out from the dark shadow world. The countless dark shadow demon soldiers seemed to have their own consciousness, and they howled as they faced the incoming sword qi river. The monstrous golden sword qi river and the endless dark shadow demon soldiers collided with each other. Suddenly, the world lost its color and the space shook. Even the spirit world's will had to reveal its eye of heaven and earth to watch the battle between Yi Tianzong and the Demon Emperor's incarnation. At the same time, it was repairing the space that was shattered by the battle. On the ground, Ling Xinyue and Xin Yu, who had reached the threshold of the Divine King realm, were working together to activate the profound Shadow Godly Mirror to watch the battle between Yi Tianzong and the Demon Emperor's incarnation. The profound Shadow Divine Mirror was refined by Yi Tianzong after spending 3 Emperor-level divine materials and fusing with a trace of the origin energy of the laws of heaven and earth. Its purpose was to record and investigate every corner of the profound spirit world. Under the control of Ling Xinyue and Xin Yu, the profound Shadow Divine Mirror expanded to a size of 300 meters. The scene within the Divine Mirror was truly the scene of Yi Tianzong fighting the Devil Emperor's incarnation. All the Myth Realm elites in the area were watching the scene in Divine Mirror of profound images. Yi Tianzong's mood did not change at all after his first attack failed. He immediately used the 6th move of the Boundless Sword technique, Amaranthan Vitality. Yi Tianzong waved his 10,000-meter-long divine sword, and many rings of sword qi formed by powerful sword qi flew towards the Devil Emperor's incarnation. Yi Tianzong waved out a total of 9 rings of sword qi, and as these rings of sword qi flew towards the Devil Emperor's incarnation, they also absorbed the energy of heaven and earth around them. Each ring of sword qi followed the law of 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and 3 to all things, and formed countless rings of sword qi. The original 9 rings of sword qi directly formed 18 rings of sword qi, then 18 rings of sword qi formed 54 rings of sword qi, and then 54 rings of sword qi formed countless rings of sword qi. This cycle continued endlessly, forming an endless tide of sword qi that covered the sky and covered the earth, and suppressed the Devil Emperor's incarnation with unstoppable force. Yi Tianzong's attack caused the Devil Emperor's incarnation to feel a lot of pressure. Demonic Wei devours the heavens. The Devil Emperor's incarnation roared wildly, and instantly, his body turned into a huge whirlpool that spanned tens of thousands of miles. The black whirlpool that spanned tens of thousands of miles released a power that could devour all things in the world, and the sword qi tides formed by the endless sword qi rings were all sucked into the black whirlpool by the powerful devouring power. After devouring the endless sword qi tides, the black whirlpool that spanned tens of thousands of miles flew towards Yi Tianzong, wanting to devour Yi Tianzong as well. Yi Tianzong's expression was solemn, and he directly used the 7th move of the Boundless Sword technique, Stellar Transposition. As the stellar transposition was used, the heavens and earth in the surrounding billions of miles changed, and Yi Tianzong and the Devil Emperor's incarnation of the black whirlpool came to a vast starry sky with endless stars, and endless starlight filled the vast universe. Yi Tianzong stood in the center of the vast starry sky, as if he was the ruler of the starry sky. Facing the black whirlpool that spanned tens of thousands of miles that seemed to want to devour the heavens and the earth, the 100,000 feet long divine sword swung in a mysterious trajectory, and then the entire endless starry sky shook like never before. Countless starlight exploded, forming stars that contained enormous energy. An unimaginable number of stars that contained enormous energy whizzed towards Yi Tianzong at an extremely fast speed, and then, under the guidance of Yi Tianzong's 100,000 feet long divine sword, all of them smashed towards the black whirlpool that spanned tens of thousands of miles in front of him. Front, back, up, down, left, and right, from all directions, the endless stars smashed towards the black whirlpool with an irresistible force. Although the black whirlpool had the power to devour the heavens and the earth, under the attack of the countless stars in the endless starry sky, it was still smashed full of holes. In just a few breaths of time, the black whirlpool that spanned tens of thousands of miles completely shattered, and the Devil Emperor's incarnation reappeared, with endless anger and killing intent. The Devil Emperor's incarnation unleashed countless shadow devil claws, trying its best to resist the attack of the countless stars. Take your life while you're sick. Yi Tianzong took advantage of the time when the Devil Emperor's incarnation was trying its best to resist the attacks of the countless stars to directly use the eighth move, massacre the world. A vast sea of blood appeared above Yi Tianzong's head, and within the endless sea of blood, there were countless blood shadow asuras looking down on the world. Endless killing intent poured out from the vast sea of blood, all of it surging into the boundless godly sword. The originally golden 100,000 feet long divine sword instantly turned into a world-destroying Azura blood sword. Not only that, after the boundless godly sword absorbed the boundless killing intent, there was still an endless amount of killing intent under Yi Tianzong's control, forming millions of thousands of killing sword energies. Then, with a strong killing intent in his eyes, Yi Tianzong's countless killing sword energies pierced through time and space, unleashing an unimaginable killing intent towards the Devil Emperor's incarnation that had just blocked the attack of the countless stars. Then, Yi Tianzong's body turned into a stream of light, and he became one with the 100,000 feet long blood sword, directly destroying space, and instantly slashing at the Devil Emperor's incarnation. Ah! An earth-shattering scream came from the Devil Emperor's incarnation. Yi Tianzong directly cut the Devil Emperor's incarnation into two halves. The Devil Emperor's incarnation was heavily injured, and its aura fell from peak God King to late God King, almost falling to mid-God King. Finally, after heavily injuring the Devil Emperor's incarnation, Yi Tianzong's eyes flashed with a sharp light, and then he immediately followed up with another attack, swallowing a handful of Tier 6 God Essence pills. Then, the remaining 40% of God Essence in his body surged, and it was rapidly consumed in an extremely short amount of time. Yi Tianzong directly used the ninth move of the Boundless Sword technique, Traversing the Ages. The ninth move, Traversing the Ages, was created by Yi Tianzong after he had fought in the world battlefield for hundreds of years. Finally, he completed the 9 refinements of Nirvana, and his strength increased explosively. Its power was earth-shattering, and it had already reached the threshold of an offensive great sacred art. Even an ordinary peak God King expert would not be able to withstand it. Once the Traversing the Ages was unleashed, Yi Tianzong's aura that had reached its peak increased crazily once again. Like an unrivaled supreme being, he stood at the peak of time and space, exuding an immeasurable divine might that could suppress the entire universe. With a torrential momentum, he raised the supreme divine sword in his hand and slashed at the heavily injured Devil Emperor's incarnation. This sword gathered all of Yi Tianzong's power and will, gathered the will of the profound spirit world, and gathered the momentum of the profound spirit world's revival. The 10,000 zhang long golden divine sword seemed to be slow, but it was actually fast. It ignored space and time, and with a supreme power and sharpness that could split heaven and earth, it slashed at the Devil Emperor's incarnation unstoppably. The heavily injured Devil Emperor's incarnation's expression changed when he saw this sword. A strong sense of life and death filled his entire body. He roared, "The Devil Tao is supreme, the Emperor's law is without heaven." His entire body's boundless power erupted, and in desperation, a 10,000 zhang long Devil Tao Great Wheel appeared after absorbing an endless amount of Devil Qi. After the Devil Tao Great Wheel appeared, the Devil Emperor's incarnation became faintly discernible, and his aura directly fell to the 6th layer of Myth Realm. The Devil Emperor's incarnation did not hesitate to activate the Devil Tao Great Wheel to resist the 10,000 zhang long Divine Sword. With endless power and sharpness, the 10,000 zhang long Divine Sword slashed at the Devil Tao Great Wheel. With a cring sound, the 9 heavens shook and the stars fell. Yi Tianzong and the Devil Emperor's incarnation's full power collided, and the entire profound spirit world trembled. Not only did the 9 heavens shatter, but the earth cracked, and the boundless sea was also turbulent, with 100 zhang tall waves surging. All the creatures in the profound spirit world were horrified. In less than a breath of time, the 10,000 zhang long Divine Sword slashed open the Devil Tao Great Wheel that the Devil Emperor's incarnation had placed his hopes on. Then, under the Devil Emperor's horrified expression, the Divine Sword slashed at the incarnation's body. Before he could even scream, the Devil Emperor's incarnation was completely destroyed by the 10,000 zhang long Divine Sword. The remaining power even slashed out a 1,000,000 li long spatial crack. After killing the Devil Emperor's incarnation, Yi Tianzong's aura was greatly reduced. His entire body felt weak and powerless, and his body was empty, with only a trace of spirit essence remaining. From the storage ring, Yi Tianzong took out dozens of 6th-tier spirit essence pills and stuffed them into his mouth to replenish the spirit essence in his body. Then, he took out 10 spirit essence crystals to absorb. With these 2 methods, in just a quarter of an hour, Yi Tianzong recovered 30% of his spirit essence. However, the recovery speed was still very fast. Fortunately, he was not injured, otherwise it would be troublesome. Yi Tianzong, who had recovered 30% of his strength, stopped Ling Xinyue, Shenyu, and the others who wanted to fly up. Instead, he activated his divine sense with a serious expression and used all his strength to investigate every inch of space within a 1,000,000,000 li radius. Even though he had already destroyed the Devil Emperor's incarnation, Yi Tianzong still had some doubts in his heart. In order to be absolutely safe, Yi Tianzong still carefully investigated. He definitely could not let the Devil Emperor's incarnation escape. After Yi Tianzong carefully investigated 3 times, he still did not find any trace of the Devil Emperor's incarnation's aura. He was slightly relieved, and then flew towards Ling Xinyue, Shenyu, and the others. Chapter 302. After Yi Tianzong left, he suddenly turned back in less than a quarter of an hour. He carefully explored every inch of space within a radius of 1,000,000,000 miles, but he still found nothing. Only then did he sigh and meet up with Ling Xinyue and the others. Looking at Ling Xinyue, Shenyu and the others, Yi Tianzong said, "I'm fine. Just now, that was the incarnation of the Devil Emperor that was suppressed in the depths of our world. I've already destroyed it. The underground world of the Devil race is broken. When I recover, I'll completely destroy the underground world of the Devil race. I'll leave the rest of the Devil gods and the Devil race to you. This time, the Devil race must be completely eradicated." After Yi Tianzong finished speaking, he flew to the other side with Ling Xinyue and Shenyu. Under the protection of Ling Xinyue and Shenyu, Yi Tianzong took out yuan crystals and began to recover his strength. As for the remaining 20,000 or so devil gods, under the siege of the Myth Realm experts led by Yi Haoran and the others, they died in large numbers. This time, they were mentally prepared, so the devil gods of the devil race did not succeed in self-detonating easily. Under the huge gap in strength, the 20,000 or so devil gods lasted less than a quarter of an hour before they were jointly destroyed by nearly 200,000 myth realm experts from the Central Plains, the southern wasteland and the northern frontier. There were no survivors. After destroying these devil gods, the myth realm experts did not stop, and continued to attack the devil race experts below the devil god realm. Nearly 200,000 myth realm experts could not deal with the devil race experts of the devil god realm. What kind of concept was that? That was simply a one-sided massacre. It couldn't even be considered a massacre. When a myth realm expert slapped down, the devil race within a radius of at least hundreds of miles were all annihilated. The various traps and defensive formations set up by the devil race in the endless abyss were useless in front of the myth realm expert. All of them were completely destroyed and razed to the ground. Under the protection of Ling Xinyue and Xin Yu, after recovering 70% of his strength, Yi Tianzong once again came to the broken devil world hundreds of miles underground. This broken demonic world was of no use to Yi Tianzong, nor could it be absorbed by the small world in his body. It could only be destroyed. Yi Tianzong raised the 10,000-foot-long godly sword once again. Under the boundless cold light, the already broken demon realm was completely destroyed by Yi Tianzong's attack. Just as Yi Tianzong was destroying the underground demon world, high up in the sky, in the 1 billion kilometer area where Yi Tianzong and the Demon Emperor's incarnation were battling, an extremely small spatial fluctuation suddenly appeared. Then, an almost transparent figure appeared in the vast and empty space. The nearly transparent figure was surrounded by wisps of dark devil energy. His aura was weak, and he was only at the first firmament of the mythic realm. Yi Tianzong, this emperor has underestimated you. However, when this emperor escapes, it will be the day of your death. I will definitely make you suffer the pain of 10,000 deaths. The most important thing now is to possess a myth realm human, and then act according to the circumstances to let this emperor escape as soon as possible. It turned out that this almost transparent figure was the incarnation of the demon emperor that Yi Tianzong had destroyed. However, the incarnation of the demon emperor had obviously used some means to hide from Yi Tianzong's 2 consecutive probes. Yi Tianzong, just you wait. When this emperor occupies the identity of a human, I will definitely make you unable to eat or sleep in peace. After the incarnation of the demon emperor finished speaking, he was about to leave. Unfortunately, as soon as he moved, he felt that the surrounding space was extremely solid and heavy, making it difficult for him to move. You don't have this chance. You can't go anywhere. Yi Tianzong's figure suddenly appeared in the space between heaven and earth, and he sneered at the immobile incarnation of the demon emperor. Damn it! You're not! The incarnation of the demon emperor knew that he had been tricked by Yi Tianzong. When he was about to curse, Yi Tianzong was not in the mood to talk to him. He directly reached out and grabbed the extremely weak incarnation of the demon emperor. Then, he set up a spirit-forbidding array to prevent the incarnation of the demon emperor from absorbing the chi of heaven and earth to recover his strength. Hey! Villains die because they talk too much. I don't want to become someone I hate. The one who left before was my incarnation. How ignorant! After saying that, Yi Tianzong directly put the incarnation of the demon emperor into his inner world. In his inner world, the incarnation of the demon emperor, whose strength had been reduced to the first firmament of the mythic realm, had no chance of escaping. Now there were still many things that he needed to solve. Now was not the right time. When he returned to the Hao Ranjin sect, Yi Tianzong planned to properly deal with the incarnation of the demon emperor to see if he could get some information and secrets. Yi Tianzong once again explored the entire 1 billion-mile radius of heaven and earth. After making sure that there was nothing else, he left. Just an hour after Yi Tianzong left, a weak spatial fluctuation appeared in the silent space again. Another almost transparent figure appeared, but the aura of this transparent figure was very weak. It was only equivalent to the aura of a powerhouse like Wu Zun. Yi Tianzong, you are still too inexperienced. Did you think that I would not guess that you would return again? Humph. Just wait. Soon, you will know how powerful I am. The saying, "a cunning rabbit has 3 burrows," was used to describe the incarnation of the demon emperor in front of him. He actually had a backup plan. However, before the incarnation of the demon emperor, whose aura was only equivalent to that of Wu Zun, could be happy, the familiar feeling appeared again. The space became very heavy again, and he could not move. Where do you think you are going? Yi Tianzong's figure suddenly appeared in front of the incarnation of the demon emperor. Revealing a strange smile, he looked at the incarnation of the demon emperor. The incarnation of the demon emperor #% You don't need to go anywhere, just follow me. After finishing speaking, Yi Tianzong directly grabbed onto the weak and indignant incarnation of the demon emperor. Then, he once again set up the forbidden spirit array and stored the incarnation of the demon emperor into his inner world. The incarnation of the demon emperor was separated from the incarnation of the demon emperor that he caught before. Did I flaunt that I managed to cultivate 2 incarnations of the demon emperor? The cunning rabbit has 3 burrows. Now, you have finally landed in my hands, right? Still calling me an emperor, you are truly an idiot. Yi Tianzong clapped his hands, then turned around and left happily. This time, he really left. After Yi Tianzong left, there was no longer any spatial fluctuation in this vast heaven and earth. On the surface, after Yi Tianzong destroyed the underground demon realm, he also joined the ranks of slaughtering the demon race. However, Yi Tianzong's efficiency was obviously not comparable to that of other myth realm experts. Activating the heavenly scripture of purification with all his strength, all the demons within a radius of hundreds of millions of miles were turned into ashes under the divine purification light that Yi Tianzong used. With the elimination of the demon race in the western region, the forces of the Central Plains, the southern wasteland, and the northern borderline also entered the western region, and then spread to various places in the western region to carry out the final elimination of the remaining demon race. After a full 5 years, the elimination of the demon race in the western region was finally completed. All the demon race that could be found were completely eliminated, and in these 5 years, all the first-rate forces of the Central Plains, the southern wasteland, and the northern borderline that participated in the attack on the demon race, under the supervision of the Hao Ranjun sect, the Lingyun Hall, the Kunlun sect, and the 10 Great Holy Lands, completed a relatively fair division of forces in the western region. Among them, the Hao Ranjun sect, the Lingyun Hall, the Kunlun sect, and the 10 Great Holy Lands contributed the most. Without a doubt, they occupied the most central area of the western region. The abyss demon race that had been troubling the living beings of the profound spirit world since ancient times was finally completely eliminated. Even the underground demon realm was destroyed. The living beings of the profound spirit world finally got rid of a big problem. The rest only needed to pass the most difficult and greatest demon emperor tribulation in the future. Then, the future development of the profound spirit world would not have any bottlenecks and disasters. After completely wiping out the demon race, Yi Tianzong also let out a sigh of relief. There were still more than 30 years until the last layer of the world's seal was broken. In the remaining time, Yi Tianzong stayed on the Tiangang Peak and meditated on the profound spirit world's laws of heaven and earth. At the peak of the profound spirit world, as a super-middle-class world, there were more than 2,000 profound mysteries of the laws of heaven and earth that had reached 70% of the complete laws. The remaining profound mysteries of the laws of heaven and earth were also above 50%. Perhaps it knew that Yi Tianzong would face a severe situation in the future. Yi Tianzong's success or failure was related to the survival of the entire world in the future. The will of heaven and earth of the profound spirit world began to intentionally open up the profound mysteries of the laws of heaven and earth to Yi Tianzong, allowing Yi Tianzong to meditate on the laws of heaven and earth to his heart's content. Even if it was related to the safety of the world, the laws of karma, the laws of time, the laws of space, the laws of reincarnation, the laws of yin and yang, the will of heaven and earth was not stingy. Yi Tianzong, who was cultivating on the peak of Tiangang Peak, felt as though he was wandering in the endless river of laws. He was swimming to his heart's content, comprehending the mysteries of the laws to his heart's content. In this situation, Yi Tianzong's comprehension of the 3,000 laws of heaven and earth began to improve by leaps and bounds. The laws of time, the laws of space, the laws of reincarnation, the laws of the 5 elements, the laws of slaughter, the laws of heaven and earth, the laws of karma, the laws of yin and yang, the laws of light and darkness, the laws of creation, the laws of destruction, the laws of soul, the laws of life and death, the laws of illusion and reality, the laws of black and yellow, the laws of balance and balance, and the laws of the 3,000 laws of heaven and earth that Yi Tianzong had comprehended. With the help of the will of heaven and earth of the profound spirit world, he had already comprehended more than 70% of the 36 important laws of heaven and earth, and had even condensed a trace of the origin of the laws. When a cultivator broke through to become a divine king, they needed to use their own comprehension of the laws of heaven and earth to open the profound door of the laws of heaven and earth. Then, from the sea of origin of the laws of heaven and earth behind the profound door of the laws of heaven and earth, they needed to intercept a trace of the origin of the laws of heaven and earth. How much could be intercepted completely depended on the cultivator's strength. The intercepted origin of the laws of heaven and earth could help the divine king expert summon the river of laws of heaven and earth, cultivate the divine king's dharma body, and could also be added to the attacks of various weapons or divine abilities, increasing the power of the attacks. It could also be used to assist in refining weapons, refining pills, and many other uses. In short, it had endless uses. The more laws one comprehended, the more profound doors of the laws of heaven and earth one would open when advancing to become a divine king, and the stronger one would be after becoming a divine king. Chapter 303. Yi Tianzong was immersed in the process of comprehending the laws of heaven and earth. Time quickly passed, and gradually, 40 years had passed, exceeding the time limit set by Yi Tianzong to break the seal of heaven and earth. However, because of the protection of Ling Xinyue and Shen Yu, no one came to disturb Yi Tianzong. After 40 years, with the intentional help of the will of heaven and earth in the profound spirit world, Yi Tianzong had comprehended more than 70% of the 108 laws of heaven and earth, which was exactly the number of heavenly spirits and earthly fiends. He had also comprehended at least 20% of the remaining laws of heaven and earth. However, after 40 years, the support of the will of heaven and earth gradually dissipated, and Yi Tianzong also woke up from the carefree process of comprehending the laws of heaven and earth. Yi Tianzong opened his eyes, which were filled with the mysteries of the laws that had not completely dissipated, revealing an incomparably deep light. Feeling the almost uncontrollable power in his body, Yi Tianzong let out a long breath and said softly, "Although it's a pity that I can't comprehend the laws of heaven and earth as carefree as before, the harvest is still very great. With my current divine body and soul, comprehending more than 70% of the profound mysteries of the 108 laws is already my limit. If I go any further, I won't be able to endure it. After 3,000 years of 10 reincarnations, it's finally time to become a divine king." Yi Tianzong suppressed the surging power in his body, then looked at the 2 peerless goddesses beside him. He smiled and hugged them, lightly smelling their auras, and told them about his harvest in the past few years. 7 days later, Yi Tianzong stood high in the sky, and Yi Tianzong's family, the upper echelons of the Hao Ranjin sect, as well as the people of the Lingyun Hall, the Kunlun sect, and the 10 Great Holy Lands, stood hundreds of millions of miles away. This was the closest distance Yi Tianzong had requested, mainly because he did not want others to be affected by his tribulation. Standing high in the sky, Yi Tianzong's body emitted a strange fluctuation, then he raised his head and looked at the sky above him. Above him, a layer of dark clouds had already gathered, and in this thick layer of dark clouds, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, and thunder shook the sky. The thunderous sound that shook the heavens and the earth reverberated in the vast world. The Divine King realm was the watershed of the true experts in the 9 heavens of myth. Starting from the Divine King realm, one could be considered an overlord in the myth realm. Even in the Great Thousand Worlds, Divine King experts were high-level existences. And in the middle world, Divine King experts were definitely the peak existences. The heavens could not destroy them, and the earth could not bury them. As long as the heavens and earth were not destroyed, or if they encountered an even stronger expert, they would basically live as long as the heavens and earth, immortal and indestructible. Every Great Thousand Worlds would be surrounded by a different number of middle and small worlds. But the middle world did not have the foundation to send down the heavenly tribulation to the Divine King realm. Otherwise, it would cause great damage to the origin of the middle world, cutting off the possibility of advancement. Therefore, only the Great Thousand Worlds that ruled all the middle and small worlds could conduct the test. The layer of dark clouds above Yi Tianzong's head was a test sent down by the way of heaven of the Great Thousand Worlds, which belonged to the profound spirit world. As long as Yi Tianzong could open the profound gate of the laws of heaven and earth in the 81 lightning tests of the way of heaven of the Great Thousand Worlds, and intercept a strand of the origin of the laws from the sea of origin of the laws, and then break free from the net of the way of heaven, then Yi Tianzong would successfully break through to the Divine King realm. Otherwise, he would fail and die. Breaking through from the 6th heaven to the 7th heaven of myth was very difficult, and the probability of success was very small. For example, if the probability of breaking through from the 5th heaven to the 6th heaven of myth was 1%, then the probability of successfully breaking through from the 6th heaven to the Divine King realm was 1 in a million. Yi Tianzong sensed the vast energy accumulated in the dark clouds above his head, and his face looked very serious. Come on, today I, Yi Tianzong, will become the Divine King, Yi Tianzong thought resolutely. Then, the powerful energy and aura that had been suppressed in his body suddenly burst out, sweeping across hundreds of millions of miles. Even the Hao Ranzhen sect and other myth realm warriors who were standing hundreds of millions of miles away were suppressed by Yi Tianzong's invincible aura and kept retreating tens of millions of miles away. After Yi Tianzong completely released his aura, the dark clouds in the sky seemed to be enraged, and then 10,000 lightning bolts fell on Yi Tianzong. Each lightning bolt was 1 foot thick. 10,000 lightning bolts struck down, shaking the earth and shaking the space. All the living beings in the profound spirit world felt their hearts sink, as if a great disaster was about to befall them. Yi Tianzong didn't care about the tens of thousands of lightning bolts that were striking him because these lightning bolts weren't enough to harm him. Instead, he summoned the 5 elements law profound gate while he was channeling the heavenly thunder body refining chant. A 5-colored profound gate of law appeared out of thin air above the 9 heavens. Above the profound gate of 5 elements flowed, forming a powerful barrier. Yi Tianzong did not waste any time. He immediately infused the origin of the 5 elemental laws that he had condensed into the boundless godly sword. He performed the first generation of the boundless sword technique, the sword of separation. The giant sword slashed through space and time, bringing with it an unparalleled power. It directly broke through the barrier formed by the 5 elemental laws and blasted open the profound gate of the 5 elemental laws. The profound gate of the 5 elemental laws was forcefully blasted open, immediately revealing a small corner of the origin sea of the 5 elemental laws behind the profound gate of laws. The origin of 5 elements behind the profound gate of heaven and earth was the origin of 5 elements that supported the endless chaos of space and time in the myriad world. It was vast and boundless, and it was impossible to fathom. Yi Tianzong was shocked by the endless origin of 5 elements with just a glance. The profoundness of the endless origin of 5 elements made it difficult for him to shift his gaze, and it firmly attracted all his attention. He could not wait to dive into the origin of 5 elements and swim in it. Fortunately, his state of mind was extraordinary, and he still had his reason. He did not forget what he was doing, so he forcefully suppressed the throbbing and desire in his heart, and used the origin of 5 elements that he had condensed as a guide to directly step onto the open profound gate of 5 elements. Then, he used the origin of 5 elements that he had condensed to support himself, and reached out to grab the origin of 5 element. Heavy, so heavy, too heavy. That was Yi Tianzong's only thought right now. The origin of 5 elements was as calm as the ocean, but it was condensed from the endless origin of 5 elements. Without a doubt, it would be extremely difficult to obtain the origin of laws from the origin of 5 elements. If he was not powerful enough, he could forget about obtaining the origin of laws at all. Even though it was very difficult, Yi Tianzong was different from ordinary people who wanted to become a god king. Without a doubt, Yi Tianzong was many times more powerful than ordinary people in terms of appearance. With Yi Tianzong's strength that was on par with ordinary peak god kings, he managed to grab a 20-centimeter long and 5-centimeter wide strip of the origin of 5 elements from the origin of 5 elements. Yi Tianzong's grab wasn't a big deal, but the entire origin sea of the 5 elemental laws went berserk because of his grab. Angry waves surged as if they were hurt by Yi Tianzong's grab. Monstrous waves surged towards Yi Tianzong. Looking at the momentum, it was absolutely going to kill Yi Tianzong. Yi Tianzong was surprised, and he hurriedly left the profound gate of 5 elements and retreated. Just as Yi Tianzong pushed out the profound gate of 5 elements, the profound gate of 5 elements closed at a speed that Yi Tianzong could not comprehend, and then it disappeared from the world. Yi Tianzong immediately let out a long sigh of relief after escaping death. Afterwards, he reminded himself that he had to retreat as quickly as possible after seizing the other origins of 5 elements. Just when Yi Tianzong was rejoicing that he had escaped from death, the thunderclouds above him were not willing to do so. It had sent down 10,000 bolts of lightning for half a day, but Yi Tianzong was completely fine. He was even absent-minded, which infuriated the thundercloud. As a result, 10,000 bolts of lightning descended from the thundercloud once more. This time, each bolt was twice as powerful as before, and they all struck towards Yi Tianzong. Yi Tianzong did not try to block the bolts of lightning. Instead, he allowed them to strike him as he constantly circulated the true lightning body refining mantra within him. As it replenished his energy, it also tempered his body. The true lightning body refining mantra was something that Yi Tianzong had created after combining countless cultivation methods related to lightning and experimenting over a long period of time. It was a cultivation method of lightning that could be cultivated directly to the God King realm. It could attract lightning to cultivate, and it was extremely powerful. Chapter 304. Yi Tianzong continued his journey of breaking through while circulating the true lightning body tempering technique. This time, Yi Tianzong summoned the profound gate of the laws of time. The profound gate of the laws of time was looming behind a roulette of time that was thousands of feet long. The roulette of time kept spinning, hiding the profound gate of the laws of time in the depths of endless time. Yi Tianzong also transformed the traces of the world law origin he had condensed into the roulette of time. Then, with the roulette of time above his head, he stepped into the long river of time and went against the current toward the profound gate of the laws of time. Perhaps after an instant, or perhaps after countless years, Yi Tianzong finally arrived in front of the profound gate of the laws of time under great pressure and obstacles. The power of the laws of time was added to the boundless divine sword. Yi Tianzong also blasted open the profound gate of the laws of time with a sword. Fragments of time danced in the air, revealing the origin sea of the laws of time behind the profound gate of the laws of time. What a sparkling and translucent sea it was! Yi Tianzong looked at the crystal-clear origin sea of the laws of time in front of him. He almost lost his mind and got lost in the endless sea of time. Forcing himself to calm down, Yi Tianzong showed a decisive look on his face. Then, he stood on the profound gate of the laws of time and stretched out his hand to grab the origin sea of the laws of time. Yi Tianzong attached a trace of the origin sea of the laws of time. He had condensed to his hand and cut into the origin sea of the laws of time. Then, with a strong grab, he pulled out a small section of the origin sea of the laws of time that was 15 centimeters long and 3 centimeters in diameter. Then, without looking back, he hurriedly left the profound gate of the laws of time. Yi Tianzong did not dare to stay any longer. What he did not know was that after he pulled out a small section of the origin sea of the laws of time, the originally calm origin sea of the laws of time suddenly boiled, setting off monstrous waves that seemed to surge out of the profound gate of the laws of time and drown Yi Tianzong, the culprit who stole the origin sea of the laws of time. The profound gate of the laws of time closed at an unfathomable speed, firmly blocking the origin sea of the laws of time in an unfathomable space. Yi Tianzong followed the river of time at his fastest speed. After an unknown amount of time, he finally rushed out of the time roulette in front of the profound door of time. The moment he charged out, the roulette of time slowly dissipated, vanishing without a trace. I've never heard anyone say that one would be attacked by the origin sea when intercepting the origin of laws. Could it be that I have intercepted too much? After narrowly intercepting a small section of the origin sea of the laws of time, Yi Tianzong could not help but complain. Then, he adjusted his breathing slightly, and continued to summon the profound gate of the laws of space. At this moment, the thunderclouds above Yi Tianzong once again sent down the third wave of thunderbolt. This time, the 10,000 thunderbolts were twice as powerful as the second wave of thunderbolt. Yi Tianzong did not care about the 10,000 thunderbolts that were coming at him. Instead, he added a trace of the origin sea of the laws of space that he had condensed onto the boundless godly sword. Then, he became one with the sword and directly rushed into the dimensional space in front of him. The profound gate of the laws of space, which was 10,000 feet in size, stood in a mysterious unknown place in the endless dimensional space. From the outside, it looked like a small spatial gate in the center of a huge dimensional cube. Yi Tianzong added a trace of the origin sea of the laws of space to himself and became one with the boundless godly sword. The giant sword pierced through the layers of dimensional space, and under the guidance of the origin sea of the laws of space, it kept jumping into the deepest part of the endless dimensional space. After breaking through countless dimensional spaces, Yi Tianzong finally arrived in front of the profound gate of the laws of space. The sword slashed through the space and hit the profound gate of the laws of space. It seemed to have shattered the endless dimensional space, accompanied by countless space fragments. The profound gate of the laws of space opened, and the endless origin sea of the laws of space was revealed, rippling with an illusory and mysterious color. Yi Tianzong was still standing on the profound gate of the laws of space. Then, he used all his strength to grab a section of the origin sea of the laws of space, and immediately turned around to leave the profound gate of the laws of space. He did not care about how the origin sea of the laws of space behind him was roaring and boiling. He once again became one with the sword, turned into a giant sword, and pierced through the endless dimensional space, and escaped from the dimensional cube. The moment he left the dimensional cube, the cube disappeared into nothingness. Yi Tianzong did not delay, but immediately began to summon the profound gate of the laws of yin and yang. The thunderbolts in the thunderclouds above were getting stronger and stronger. Although they did not affect Yi Tianzong now, as time went on, as long as Yi Tianzong continued to summon the profound gate of the laws of heaven and earth, the thunderbolts above his head would continue to strike down, and their power would become stronger and stronger. Sooner or later, Yi Tianzong would be injured. If Yi Tianzong still did not obtain the origin C of the laws of heaven and earth, he needed after the 81 thunderbolts bombarded him, then the heaven and earth thunder tribulation would break through the limit of 81 thunderbolts and continue to attack him, but at that time, the power would be even stronger. Therefore, Yi Tianzong did not hesitate to continue summoning the profound gate of the laws of heaven and earth. This time, the profound gate of the laws of yin and yang was blocked by a yin-yang taiji diagram that covered the sky. Yi Tianzong still condensed a trace of the origin C of the laws of heaven and earth onto himself, then broke through the yin-yang taiji diagram's defense, broke through the yin-yang taiji diagram's profound gate of the laws of heaven and earth, and once again grabbed a small section of the origin C of the laws of heaven and earth. Before the origin C of the laws of heaven and earth attacked him, he hurriedly escaped. Next was the destruction dharma, creation dharma, massacre dharma, karma dharma, reincarnation dharma, light and darkness dharma. Yi Tianzong endured the increasingly powerful thunderbolts' attacks, and raced against time to summon the profound gate of the laws of heaven and earth. Then, he intercepted the origin C of the laws of heaven and earth, and after escaping, he summoned the next profound gate of the laws of heaven and earth. The various concretions of laws that blocked the profound gates of the laws of heaven and earth were all different. For example, there was a destruction millstone before the profound gate of the laws of destruction, a 12th grade lotus of creation before the profound gate of the laws of creation, a god-slaying spear before the profound gate of the laws of slaughter, a wheel of karma before the profound gate of the laws of karma, a bridge of samsara before the profound gate of the laws of reincarnation, a book of light and darkness before the profound gate of the laws of light and darkness, and so on. As Yi Tianzong summoned more and more profound gates of the laws of heaven and earth, Yi Tianzong needed more and more time to break through. As a result, the thunderbolts Yi Tianzong endured became more and more powerful. The thunderclouds that were only 1,000,000 kilometers across had now expanded to 10 million kilometers. As time went on, they continued to expand. After Yi Tianzong summoned over 80 profound gates of the laws of heaven and earth, the thunderclouds in the sky had already expanded to a radius of 15 million kilometers. At the same time, every single bolt of lightning that fell towards him was powerful enough to harm mid-god kings. Yi Tianzong suffered quite a lot of injuries as a result. The spectators who were watching from billions of miles away had long since retreated to billions of miles away. They simply couldn't withstand the powerful pressure of the thunderclouds that covered a radius of 30 million miles. Everyone who was just a little bit closer could feel a fatal sense of danger coiling around their hearts. Out of the 108 laws of the world, Yi Tianzong had already absorbed 87 of them. Yi Tianzong felt extremely pressured from the 87 laws in his body. If it were not for the suppression from the immortal mansion, Yi Tianzong's body would not have been able to endure so many origin laws. Back then, just a trace of nomological origin had made Yi Tianzong feel very heavy. Not to mention, Yi Tianzong had cut off 87 segments of nomological origin. These nomological origin were in Yi Tianzong's body, and the pressure on Yi Tianzong's body and soul was simply unimaginable. After being struck by lightning again, Yi Tianzong continued to summon other profound gates of the laws of heaven and earth. Withstanding the 10,000 bolts of lightning that were getting stronger and stronger, Yi Tianzong continued to intercept the origin laws with his injured body. After another half an hour, Yi Tianzong finally finished intercepting more than 70% of the 108 origin laws of heaven and earth that he had comprehended. At this time, The power of the 10,000 bolts of lightning had reached a level that was enough to kill an ordinary late-stage Divine King expert. The entire profound spirit world's 9 heavens had long been shattered. Even the profound spirit world's will of heaven and earth was trembling in fear under the 10,000 bolts of lightning. This was a destructive power that was enough to destroy the entire world. Fortunately, with the control of the great thousand worlds heavenly Tao, this power that was enough to destroy the profound spirit world in an instant was controlled within a radius of hundreds of millions of kilometers in the 9 heavens. At this time, Yi Tianzong was also severely injured by the 10,000 bolts of lightning. His originally invincible divine body was shattered into pieces. After the 10,000 bolts of lightning struck Yi Tianzong and severely injured him, the heavenly thunderclouds that were originally 30 million kilometers in radius suddenly shrank rapidly. The pressure of the heavenly thunderclouds in the sky also became stronger and stronger. Lightning snakes danced in the sky, thunder dragons roared in the sky, completely turning into a sea of lightning that was 1,000,000 kilometers in radius. This made Yi Tianzong feel an extremely fatal danger. Not daring to be negligent, Yi Tianzong hurriedly took out the healing pills and divine pills that he had prepared previously. In the short period of time when the heavenly thunderclouds were shrinking and accumulating power, he seized all the time to recover his injuries and power. While eating the healing pills and divine pills, Yi Tianzong also circulated the heavenly thunderbody refinement chant with all his strength to refine the raging heavenly thunder power in his body. Then, he took out 7 sets of defensive formation discs from the immortal mansion. They were carefully refined with emperor-level divine materials. After activating them, they formed 7 layers of defense. There were also many powerful one-time use forbidden weapons. These were all things that Yi Tianzong had prepared before just in case. He did not expect that he had underestimated the power of the heavenly thunder during the tribulation. It was not that he had not seen the scene of a 6th heaven divine king in the great thousand world of the human race's Black Heaven sect when they were promoted to divine king. Basically, every time they were attacked by 81 bolts of heavenly thunder, but when it came to him, he had to withstand 10,000 bolts of heavenly thunder every time. This was simply too bad. If it were anyone else, they would have been turned into ashes long ago. However, Yi Tianzong was also very dangerous now. It just so happened that all these things that he had prepared before came in handy and could reduce his burden. Yi Tianzong had just suppressed the heavenly thunder that was wreaking havoc in his body, and his overall strength had recovered less than a third. The power of the heavenly thunder sea that was millions of kilometers in the sky above his head had finished accumulating. Then 10,000 bolts of heavenly thunder struck down at him. This last attack of 10,000 bolts of heavenly thunder completely turned into 10,000 electric snakes dancing in the air. Then, the 10,000 electric snakes formed a 10,000 feet long silver thunder dragon. The thunder dragon roared to the sky and swept down at Yi Tianzong with the power of thunder that could destroy the sky. The first layer of the defensive formation discs that Yi Tianzong had refined with emperor-level divine materials was instantly broken through. Then, it broke through the second layer like a hot knife through butter. Then, it broke through the third layer, the fourth layer, and by the time it reached the fifth layer, the 10,000 feet long thunder dragon was already 90,000 feet long. Then, in less than a moment, it quickly broke through the fifth layer of defense. With the help of the sixth and seventh layers, after breaking through the seventh layer of defense, the original 10,000 feet long thunder dragon had already shrunk to 50,000 feet long. And when the silver thunder dragon had just broken through the seventh layer of defense, Yi Tianzong, who had been waiting for this for a long time, detonated over 30 single-use forbidden artifacts that were equivalent to his full-strength strike at the thunder dragon 3 times in an extremely short amount of time. Space shattered and the 9 heavens shook. After enduring over 30 forbidden artifacts that were equivalent to the full-strength strike of a peak God King expert, the silver thunder dragon that had shrunk to 50,000 feet long shrunk to 30,000 feet long again. By the time the thunder dragon roared and attacked Yi Tianzong again, Yi Tianzong had already finished his preparations. First, he used the laws of time to slow down the thunder dragon. Then, he used the laws of space to create several hundred layers of dimensional barriers between him and the thunder dragon. Afterwards, he used the laws of yin and yang to form a taiji diagram to protect himself. The laws of destruction formed a great mill of destruction in front of him, and the laws of slaughter formed a god-slayer spear. After the silver thunder dragon had broken through the laws of time and space, as well as the Godslayer spear and the great mill of destruction, it had shrunk to less than 20,000 feet long. During this process, Yi Tianzong had been doing everything he could to recover his strength. After the thunder dragon had broken through the taiji diagram, Yi Tianzong had already recovered half of his strength. Then, with over a dozen sixth-grade God Essence pills and healing pills in his mouth, Yi Tianzong gathered all the power in his body and used the destruction strike, colliding with the bearing thunder dragon. Violent energy tore through everything, sweeping through the shattered space of the 9 heavens. After resisting Yi Tianzong's destruction strike, the silver thunder dragon, which was less than 300 feet long, crashed into Yi Tianzong, who had exhausted all his strength. On the other hand, Yi Tianzong, who had no strength to resist, lit up with a layer of defense. It was the golden armor that Yi Tianzong wore. This set of armor was completely refined from emperor-level divine materials and had a very strong defensive ability. Under the defense of this set of armor, the thunder dragon, which was less than 300 feet long, could not break through the defense of this set of armor after exhausting all its strength. After roaring unwillingly, it finally dissipated. The dissipation of the thunder dragon meant that Yi Tianzong had completely passed the test of the heaven-earth thunder tribulation. At this moment, the healing pills and God Essence pills that Yi Tianzong had swallowed before began to take effect. Chapter 305. The aura on Yi Tianzong's body gradually recovered and became stronger. The sea of lightning above his head had dissipated and was replaced by a heavenly Tao law net that covered the space and time of destiny. It descended on Yi Tianzong. The heavenly Tao law net was sent down by the heavenly Tao of the Great Thousand World. It was also the final test for cultivators who wanted to become God Kings. The heavenly Tao law net was an upgrade of the net of laws. Not only did it test a cultivator's comprehension of the laws, but it also tested a cultivator's willpower and state of mind. If Yi Tianzong wanted to successfully become a God King, he had to break free from the heavenly Tao law net. Actually, in order to become a God King, one had to go through the heavens lightning and the heavens net of law. The heavens net of law was the most difficult. However, to Yi Tianzong, the heavens net of law was the easiest. Willpower and state of mind had always been Yi Tianzong's strength. Therefore, Yi Tianzong successfully broke free from the heavenly Tao law net in less than 15 minutes. After Yi Tianzong broke free from the heavenly Tao law net, the heavenly Tao law net quickly dissipated. Then, in the clouds above Yi Tianzong, a spatial gap that was about 10 feet wide suddenly appeared. From this spatial gap that suddenly appeared, a 7-colored brilliance shot out. It carried an extremely pure energy aura and shot toward Yi Tianzong. Yi Tianzong did not dodge, because he knew that this was a reward from the heavenly Tao of the Great Thousand World to cultivators after passing the test of the heavenly Tao law net and the heavenly Tao law net. Yi Tianzong opened his mind and channeled the heavenly expanse mysterious scripture with all his might to absorb the 7-colored brilliance. The energy of the 7-colored brilliance was the energy emitted by the source of heaven and earth of the Great Thousand World. The energy it contained was extremely vast and pure. Under the illumination of the 7-colored brilliance, Yi Tianzong's injuries were rapidly recovering. His soul was rapidly becoming stronger and stronger. The divine origin in his body was also rapidly transforming into more powerful divine king Dharma power. More and more divine origin was also rapidly transforming into divine king Dharma power. Yi Tianzong's aura also broke through the restraints and soared rapidly, becoming stronger and stronger. After 10 breaths, the 7-colored brilliance disappeared. Yi Tianzong's injuries were completely healed. The power of his soul had increased tenfold, and all the divine energy in his body had transformed into God King magic power. Moreover, he had recovered his strength before the tribulation. He was only left with the God King magic power. After cultivating the God King magic power, Yi Tianzong's physical strength would increase by at least tenfold. Moreover, the God King magic power in his body would also increase. Only at that time could Yi Tianzong be considered a true God King in terms of essence, energy, and spirit. The current Yi Tianzong could only be called a fake God King. Even so, Yi Tianzong's strength was dozens of times stronger than when he was at the 6th level of the mythical realm. All the tests to promote to God King had been passed. The power of the great thousand worlds heavenly Tao dissipated. At this time, Yi Tianzong's tyrannical aura spread across the world. It swept across the entire profound spirit world and even spread to the chaotic region outside the world. The central plains, the northern frontier, the western regions, the southern wasteland, the boundless sea region, and anywhere in the vast sky, all living beings could feel Yi Tianzong's supreme aura. It was an existence that far surpassed them in terms of the origin and level of life. A supreme God King had been born. This information inexplicably appeared in the minds of all living beings in the profound spirit world. This was the will of the profound spirit world, letting all living beings know about the birth of the world's strongest. Yi Tianzong's strength had far exceeded the expectations of the will of the profound spirit world. In the mythical era, there were 15 God King experts in the profound spirit world. However, none of them could compare to Yi Tianzong in terms of strength. Even if all the God Kings were combined, they still wouldn't be able to match up to Yi Tianzong. From the 10,000 lightning bolts that Yi Tianzong encountered during his tribulation, one could tell of Yi Tianzong's inconceivable strength. The will of the profound spirit world mobilized its power to repair the shattered 9 heavens. At the same time, it revealed the eye of heaven and earth to look at Yi Tianzong. Today, when the eye of heaven and earth looked at Yi Tianzong, it had already treated Yi Tianzong as an equal existence. His status might even be higher. Yi Tianzong raised his head and looked at the eye of heaven and earth that was less than 100 zhang away from him. He smiled indifferently and transmitted his thoughts. Don't worry. Haven't we been working together very happily for so many years? I won't do anything to you. You know my background. If I want to do something, no one in the world can stop me. You can't either. In the endless space of the myriad heavens, the small 1,000 worlds, the middle 1,000 worlds, the great 1,000 worlds, and the primal chaos heavenly domain. At your peak, you should have surpassed the peak of the middle 1,000 world. You can be considered a super middle 1,000 world. As for me, I come from a super inheritance that can move unhindered in the myriad heavens. The reason why I came here to reincarnate is because I want to be promoted to a higher status in the myriad heavens that I belong to. Only when I help you recover to your peak, become a divine king, become the world lord, and suppress the hidden dangers of this world, can I successfully promote my status. So, you don't have to worry that I will harm you. Because my ambition is not here. With my strength and potential, the boundless 1,000 world, the primal chaos heavenly domain, and the myriad heavens will be my stage in the future. After Yi Tianzong transmitted his thoughts, the eye of heaven and earth blinked. Then, a message was transmitted to Yi Tianzong's mind. If you become the world lord, you will have the ability to enslave and kill me. How can I believe that you are telling the truth? Yi Tianzong smiled indifferently and continued to transmit his thoughts. With my current strength, there is no need to lie to you. As for becoming the world lord, You don't have to worry. We can swear to the Supreme Great Tao of the Heavens. The Supreme Great Tao of the Heavens controls the myriad heavens and myriad heavens. With the Supreme Great Tao of the Heavens and myriad heavens, do you still have to worry that I will harm you? Moreover, I only need to become the World Lord. It doesn't mean that I will always be the World Lord. 500 years, I only need to be the Lord of the world for 500 years. After I successfully promote my status, when the time is up, I will give up my status as the Lord of the world and return you your freedom. For this we can also swear to the Supreme Great Tao of the Heavens. Moreover, I will eventually enter the boundless thousand world and the primal chaos heavenly domain to explore. It is impossible for me to bring an entire world with me. So, for the sake of my future cultivation path, I can only give up my status as the World Lord in the end. What do you think? Also, when dealing with the severely injured Demon Emperor, I will also need to become the World Lord and borrow the power of the entire world to destroy the enemy. So, if we cooperate, both of us will benefit. In the end, you won't lose anything. With my help, you can escape the fate of destruction and recover to your peak. If you give up on our cooperation and I'm no match for the Demon Emperor in the final battle, I'll just give up on the promotion test and leave. Then I'll start all over again. But you'll be completely finished. After Yi Tianzong transmitted his thoughts, he looked at the eyes of heaven and earth above him. After the will of the world repeatedly deduced according to what Yi Tianzong had said, it did not lose anything in the end. Instead, it was beneficial to it. However, if it were to refuse to cooperate with Yi Tianzong, it would definitely be heading for destruction in the future. Therefore, the eyes of heaven and earth blinked once again and transmitted a message: you can only be the World Lord for 300 years. When you sign the contract, you must swear to the Supreme Great Tao of the Heavens. Seeing that the will of the world had agreed, Yi Tianzong was very happy in his heart, so he said, "No problem, 300 years is 300 years. Let's sign the contract now and swear to the Supreme Great Tao of the Heavens." After Yi Tianzong finished speaking, a ray of light shot out from the eyes of heaven and earth and arrived in front of Yi Tianzong. This was a contract that the will of the profound spirit world and Yi Tianzong needed to sign. After signing this contract, Yi Tianzong would be able to become the World Lord of the profound spirit world for the next 300 years. Even the will of the world would have to listen to Yi Tianzong's orders. In fact, in every naturally formed world in the myriad of worlds, there would naturally be an existence similar to a contract. It was just that this contract was so important that the will of heaven and earth of any world would keep it hidden. Every naturally formed world was created by the endless time and space of the myriad heavens. Yi Tianzong first swore an oath to the myriad heavens that he would sign a contract with the profound spirit world's will of heaven and earth, and in the next 300 years, he would become the master of the world. Furthermore, after becoming the World Lord, he would not enslave or kill the will of the world, nor would he do anything harmful to the world. After the 300 years were up, he would voluntarily give up his identity as the World Lord. If there was a violation, he would suffer the pain of reincarnation for eternity. Chapter 306. After Yi Tianzong swore to the Supreme Great Tao of the Heavens, Yi Tianzong felt a supreme, boundless, and indescribable power flash past. In front of this power, Yi Tianzong felt that he didn't even have the qualifications to be an ant, and he couldn't even think of resisting. Is this the manifestation of the insignificant power of the Supreme Great Tao of the Heavens? It really is unfathomable. After Yi Tianzong sighed, he signed a contract with the will of the world of the profound spirit world. After Yi Tianzong's soul contract was signed, he immediately had a feeling of controlling everything in the world. Yi Tianzong felt that with just a thought, he could turn the world upside down, connect the heavens and the earth, and control the life and death of all living things in the world. This feeling of being able to do as he pleased made him somewhat addicted. At this time, the eye of heaven and earth, which was originally above Yi Tianzong's head, also consciously lowered its height after Yi Tianzong really became the master of the world, and it was even lower than Yi Tianzong's position. Looking at the eye of heaven and earth in front of him, Yi Tianzong felt that with just a thought, he could also control the eye of heaven and earth. After breaking away from that feeling of omnipotence, Yi Tianzong stabilized his mind and said to the eye of heaven and earth that was manifested by the will of the world, "In the future, you can do whatever you want to do, I will not interfere with you. After I cultivate the Divine King's Dharma body and completely become the Divine King, I will break the last layer of restriction on you and let you recover to your peak state. I want to go back into seclusion so you can disappear." Yes, the eye of heaven and earth blinked, and after replying to Yi Tianzong, it disappeared. And Yi Tianzong saw Ling Xinyue, Shen Yu, and the others flying towards him from afar. He took a step forward and stood in front of everyone, looking at the Myth Realm experts who were coming towards him. And when all the Myth Realm experts saw Yi Tianzong, it was as if they were facing the will of the world. They felt that Yi Tianzong could control their life and death. How was this possible? This question rose in all the Myth Realm elites' hearts in shock, but no one dared to carelessly ask about it. Yi Tianzong looked at Ling Xinyue, Shen Yu, Yi Haoran, and the other higher-ups of the Hao Ranjin sect and said, "I'm fine. Don't worry. From now on, I'm the Immortal King." Upon hearing Yi Tianzong's words, Ling Xinyue, Shen Yu, Yi Haoran, and the rest of the Hao Ranjin sect members were all relieved of their worries. Yi Tianzong then said to the Lingyun Hall Master and the others, "Things have changed. My ascension to God King this time was beyond my expectations. The heavens and earth were also severely damaged and will need time to recover. I also need to go into seclusion to familiarize myself with my strength. 10 years later, when I reach the pinnacle, I will continue to break the seal of the heavens and earth." "You have wasted your time," the Lingyun Hall Master and the others hurriedly said. No, it is our honor to witness Immortal King Yi successfully break through to God King. How could we have wasted our time? Since your Highness has something else to do, we will take our leave first. We will come back in 10 years. After saying that, the Lingyun Hall Master, the Kunlun Sect Master, the 10 Great Sacred Masters, and the other Myth Realm elites respectfully bid farewell to Yi Tianzong. After the Lingyun Hall Master and the others left, Yi Tianzong's uncle, Yi Haoyun, asked, "Tianzong, why do I feel like I'm facing the whole world when I look at you? It's as if you can control our lives and deaths. Logically speaking, even if you become the Immortal King, you shouldn't make me feel like this." After Yi Haoyun finished speaking, Ling Xinyue, Shen Yu, and the Myth Realm elites of the Hao Ranjin sect all looked at Yi Tianzong. Yi Tianzong said as if he didn't care, "It's nothing. When a cultivator advances to the Immortal King realm, he needs to pass the test of the way of heaven of the Greater Thousand World, which our world belongs to. In the test I just went through, the strength I showed was recognized by the will of heaven and earth. At the cost of making me the master of the world, the whole world will be restored to its peak, and the suppressed Devil Emperor will be completely eliminated, so that the whole world can develop in an orderly and safe way. I have become the master of the world, and even the will of heaven and earth has to listen to my orders. That's why you have this feeling." Yi Haoyun said in surprise, "What? Tianzong, you have become the master of the world? Doesn't that mean that our Hao Ranjin sect is completely invincible? Who else can resist us?" As soon as Yi Haoyun finished speaking, all the Myth Realm elites of the Hao Ranjin sect showed a hint of excitement and fanaticism in their eyes. "Yes, who else can disobey the will of our Hao Ranjin sect?" Yi Tianzong said indifferently, "Indeed, no force can disobey our will. But I'm not interested in this. You can do whatever you want. I have to go back and cultivate in seclusion first. The news of my advancement to the Immortal King realm can be released first, but the Immortal King ceremony will be held in 10 years. At that time, I will also announce that I have become the master of the world. Then, I will break the seal of heaven and earth, and let the world return to its peak. Everyone will have the chance to become the immortal king. After Yi Tianzong finished speaking, he took Ling Xinyue and Shen Yu and told Yi Haoran and the other family members. Then, he stepped back to Tiangang Peak and entered the immortal mansion. After entering the immortal mansion, Yi Tianzong told Ling Xinyue and Shen Yu about his feelings and process of breaking through to the immortal king realm. Then, he came in front of the colorful barrier again. He planned to enter the greater thousand world of the human race and cultivate his immortal king Dharma body in the Black Sky sect. Yi Tianzong had comprehended a total of 108 laws of heaven and earth. Then, his immortal king Dharma body would need to use the origin of the laws and borrow the power of the 108 laws to cultivate. It would take too much time, and he could not make it in the profound spirit world. He could only enter the greater thousand world of the human race where time flowed 10 times faster. Even though Yi Tianzong had reached the immortal king realm, he still went through a trance. When he regained consciousness, Yi Tianzong had already returned to the remote place where he left. After a few turns, Yi Tianzong finally returned to the Black Sky sect. After returning to the Black Sky sect, Yi Tianzong did not tell others that he had become a immortal king with great fanfare. Instead, he returned to the Haoran Peak in a low-key manner. On the Haoran Peak, he gathered about 100 important members of the Haoran camp and told them that he had broken through to the immortal king realm. He would be going into seclusion to cultivate his immortal king Dharma body and comprehend divine abilities. He would come out in 100 years and ask them to take turns to guard him and not let anyone disturb him. After feeling Yi Tianzong's pressure that was far above theirs, all the important members of the Haoran camp were overjoyed. As the leader and founder of the camp, the stronger Yi Tianzong was, the safer they would be and the further they could go. At that moment, everyone decided to guard Yi Tianzong in groups of 10. They would take turns every 5 years. Yi Tianzong rearranged his cultivation cave and increased the power of the defensive formation. Then, he went into seclusion. After entering seclusion, Yi Tianzong focused on cultivating his immortal king Dharma body. Through the 108 nomological origins in his body, Yi Tianzong summoned 108 nomological rivers. These nomological rivers coiled around Yi Tianzong. Yi Tianzong absorbed the power of laws from these nomological rivers to cultivate his immortal king Dharma body. As Yi Tianzong had comprehended 108 nomological origins, he could only absorb the power of 108 nomological rivers at the same time when he cultivated his immortal king Dharma body. He could not absorb them one after another. Otherwise, there would be a rejection between the nomological origins. This would not happen if he absorbed them at the same time. However, absorbing 108 nomological origins at the same time was not only slow, but it also required a lot of attention to control the speed at which he absorbed each nomological origin. This was under the condition that Yi Tianzong did not need to suppress the 108 law origins in his body. The 108 nomological origins in Yi Tianzong's body were forcefully suppressed by the endless power of the immortal mansion. Then, as Yi Tianzong gradually cultivated his immortal king Dharma body, the immortal mansion gradually relaxed its suppression of the nomological origins, allowing Yi Tianzong's body to adapt to the pressure of the nomological origins. If it were not for the immortal mansion's control, Yi Tianzong would have exploded long ago. Chapter 307. Time passed quickly. 80 years passed very quickly as Yi Tianzong focused on cultivating the God King's physique. Due to Yi Tianzong's instructions, no one knew that Yi Tianzong had broken through to the God King realm apart from over 100 core members of Haoran's faction on Haoran Peak. No one knew that Yi Tianzong had actually returned to the Black Heavens sect silently either. After 80 years, Yi Tianzong's progress in cultivating the God King's physique came to an end. In another 5 years, he would be able to completely cultivate the physique. This progress had exceeded Yi Tianzong's expectations slightly. When he first entered seclusion, Yi Tianzong carefully controlled the absorption of the various powers of laws. However, after spending over 50 years and completing half of the physique, Yi Tianzong felt much more relaxed. His cultivation speed also increased. The further he progressed, the easier it became. After 80 years, Yi Tianzong had already completed over 90% of the physique. In another 5 years, he would be able to complete it completely. In the process of cultivating the godly King Dharma body, the origin of laws that had been suppressed in Yi Tianzong's body by the vast expanse immortal abode also gradually changed its position. It began to slowly circulate in Yi Tianzong's body according to the direction of the Tiangang earthly terminus infinite formation. Another 5 years passed. As he absorbed the last strand of power of laws, Yi Tianzong finally completed cultivating the physique. After completely cultivating the godly King Dharma body, Yi Tianzong felt that the strength and toughness of his body had increased by hundreds of times compared to before. Just by relying on the physique strength, Yi Tianzong felt like he could kill ordinary peak godkings. Moreover, Yi Tianzong's godking dermic power had increased by several hundred times compared to before he had cultivated a godking dermic body. His strength was completely different from before. The power of the immortal mansion on Yi Tianzong faded away, and the 108 origins of laws in Yi Tianzong's body began to operate according to the trajectory of the heavenly spirit's earthly evils infinitum array. Yi Tianzong was also able to withstand the pressure of 108 law origins by himself. However, when Yi Tianzong sensed the origin of laws within his body that was operating according to the orbit of the heavenly spirit earth terminus infinite formation, he found that this heavenly spirit earth terminus infinite formation was formed when the immortal mansion was suppressing the origin of laws within Yi Tianzong's body. It could also be said that it was formed under the guidance of the power of the immortal mansion, and possessed an extremely powerful and unfathomable power. Yi Tianzong only knew that it was called the heavenly spirit earth terminus infinite formation, and only had a superficial understanding of the mysteries of this formation. Yi Tianzong did not consider the matter of the heavenly spirit earth terminus infinite formation for the time being. It was within his body anyway, so he would be able to figure it out sooner or later. He silently estimated that if he unleashed all 108 origins of laws, his body would only be able to withstand it for an instant at most with the current toughness of his body. Any longer and his body would completely collapse. Yi Tianzong still had a very, very long way to go before he could unleash all the power of the laws as he wished. With his preliminary godking's physique, Yi Tianzong could unleash all 20 origins of laws as he wished. Under the effects of the heavenly spirit earth terminus infinite formation, as long as Yi Tianzong's body could withstand it, then Yi Tianzong would be able to use the various origins of laws within his body at will. Then, he would be able to use the power of the laws according to the 1 origin, 2 forms, 3 powers, 4 divisions, 5 elements, 6 directions, 7 stars, 8 trigrams, 9 palaces, 10 directions, and so on. He would not have to worry about the imbalance of the 108 origins of laws within his body. After spending 85 years to completely cultivate the godking's physique, Yi Tianzong had completed his cultivation goal ahead of time. However, Yi Tianzong did not come out of seclusion. There were still 15 years left. Yi Tianzong wanted to reforge his natal weapon, the Boundless God Sword. The Boundless God Sword was the natal weapon that had accompanied Yi Tianzong since he was still a nobody. It was connected to Yi Tianzong's life. As Yi Tianzong's strength increased, so would the Boundless God Sword. There was a drawback to this method of refining weapons. It required a lot of materials and resources. However, this was not a problem for Yi Tianzong. After spending another 5 years, Yi Tianzong used the power of the 108 origins of laws within his body to continuously refine the Boundless God Sword. The boundless God sword was originally refined from more than 10 emperor-grade divine materials. Naturally, it did not require any additional materials. Now that it had been refined by Yi Tianzong's Origin of Laws for several years, the power and functions of the various emperor-grade divine materials were further stimulated and fused. After 5 years, Yi Tianzong stopped refining the boundless God sword. The boundless God sword had also been completely upgraded to the level of a God King weapon. At this moment, on the golden body of the boundless divine sword, there were 108 tiny runes that appeared on the divine sword. They were distributed on the sword according to a very special and mysterious path. This represented the 108 types of law origin energy in Yi Tianzong's body. Yi Tianzong directly used the boundless God sword to slash at his own divine physique. The divine sword easily cut through his God King's physique. Good. A look of joy flashed across Yi Tianzong's eyes. It was just like how God King experts were divided into early, middle, late, and peak stages. God King weapons were also divided into low, middle, high, and supreme grades. In the greater 1,000 worlds of the human race, weapons of various grades could be bought and sold at specific places. For example, Yi Tianzong's method of refining his natal weapon and allowing it to grow with him did not exist in most of the greater 1,000 world. It was an extremely rare method of refining weapons. The greater 1,000 worlds of the human race where the Black Heaven sect was located did not have such a secret method. With the strength of Yi Tianzong's current God King physique, ordinary high-grade God King weapons would not be able to break through his defense. Now that the boundless God sword had just been upgraded to a low-grade God King weapon, it already possessed a sharpness and power that surpassed most God King weapons. How could Yi Tianzong not be happy? After refining the boundless God sword, Yi Tianzong also refined the other golden armor on his body. It was made from various emperor-grade divine materials. Yi Tianzong simply named the golden armor the boundless God armor. Its main function was defense. After spending more than 8 years, Yi Tianzong also finished refining the boundless God armor. The boundless God armor had also been upgraded to a low-grade God King weapon. There was only a little more than a year left before the 100-year deadline. Although there were still many things that needed to be taken care of, such as deriving his cultivation techniques and divine abilities, there was no time left. Yi Tianzong was not in a hurry. He planned to come out of his closed-door cultivation and announce to the entire Black Heaven sect that he had ascended to the God King realm. Yi Tianzong removed the protective formation of the cultivation cave. Outside, 10 core members of Howren's camp, who were at the 6th heaven of mythical realm, looked pleasantly surprised as he walked out. "Leader, you." One of the core members at the 6th heaven of mythical realm said with a trembling voice. "Yes, I've comprehended quite a lot of laws. I've just cultivated the God King Dharma body and finished accumulating my magical energy. I've completely become a God King. It's time to let the sect know that I've returned." Yi Tianzong smiled calmly as he announced the results of his closed-door cultivation and his decision. "Yes, leader. I'll go inform the others and spread the news that you've become a God King," the core member at the 6th heaven of mythical realm said excitedly. "All right, you all go ahead. I'll wait for you in Howren's Grand Hall." Yi Tianzong smiled at the 10 core members in front of him. Then, he stepped into the Howren's Grand Hall on Howren's Peak and waited for the others to arrive. Yi Tianzong didn't release his God King's aura to let the people of the Black Heaven sect know that he had become a God King. There were more than 2 million disciples cultivating in the Black Heaven sect. If Yi Tianzong released his aura, who knew how many disciples and experts who were cultivating would be awakened? If some disciples were in the process of enlightenment and were interrupted by Yi Tianzong's aura, it would be a great enmity for obstructing their cultivation. Although Yi Tianzong wasn't afraid, he didn't want to be the bad guy in vain. Tens of thousands of disciples on Howren's Peak spread the news that Yi Tianzong had returned 100 years ago and had completely become a God King expert. In just one day, the news had spread throughout the entire Black Heaven sect. It shocked the entire Black Heaven sect and set off a huge wave. Yi Tianzong was originally the most outstanding and powerful disciple in the entire Black Heaven sect. If he could kill early god kings before becoming a god king, just how powerful would he be after becoming a god king? The sect master of the Black Heaven sect, Lin Xiantian, had gone into seclusion to break through to Emperor. The Black Heaven sect was now managed by 6 peak god kings: the Scripture Hall Master, the Myriad Weapons Hall Master, the Exam Hall Master, the Mission Hall Master, the Discipline Hall Master, and the Alchemy Hall Master. After learning that Yi Tianzong had broken through to God King, the 6 of them came to Haoran's Peak where Yi Tianzong resided. They wanted to confirm the authenticity of the news with Yi Tianzong personally and test Yi Tianzong's strength. This was more than enough to demonstrate the importance the upper echelon of the Black Heaven sect placed on Yi Tianzong. The Scripture Hall Master, Myriad Weapons Hall Master, Test Hall Master, Mission Hall Master, Law Enforcement Hall Master and Alchemy Hall Master stayed on Haoran Peak for 2 hours before leaving. When they left, they all had looks of disbelief on their faces. Chapter 308. It was confirmed that Yi Tianzong had become a supreme god. However, what surprised the masters of the Scripture Storage Hall, the Myriad Weapons Hall, the Trial Hall, the Mission Hall, the Law Enforcement Hall, and the Alchemy Hall was Yi Tianzong's strength and the number of laws that he had comprehended. Only God knew how shocked they were when Yi Tianzong said that he had comprehended 10 laws of heaven and earth and showed them the laws of space, the laws of the 5 elements, the law of slaughter, the law of heaven and earth, the law of yin and yang, the law of light and darkness, the law of creation, the law of life and death, the law of heaven and earth, and the law of balance. These were the laws that Yi Tianzong had deliberately chosen to hide. They were very difficult to comprehend in the great wide world of the humans, but they were not impossible to comprehend. If he showed the law of time, the law of reincarnation, the law of destruction, the law of cause and effect, the law of soul, the law of illusion, and other laws that were almost impossible to be comprehended in the human world, the higher-ups of the Mystic Sky sect would definitely suspect Yi Tianzong's identity. As for Yi Tianzong's strength, the 6 Hall Masters of the Mystic Sky sect were also shocked. Yi Tianzong had only displayed the power of 10 laws of origin. The powerful aura that erupted made the Masters of the Scripture Storage Hall, the Myriad Weapons Hall, the Trial Hall, the Mission Hall, the Law Enforcement Hall, and the Alchemy Hall lose the thought of making a move. This was because the 6 Hall Masters felt an extremely fatal danger from Yi Tianzong's aura. What did this mean? This meant that they were very likely not a match for Yi Tianzong. This was only the eruption of his aura. If they really fought, the consequences would be unimaginable. What the f***ck? Did I see wrongly? How did he intercept the laws of origin? Isn't it enough to intercept a wisp of laws of origin to advance to the supreme god realm? Why do I see such a long and thick wisp? How many wisps is this equivalent to? We're all serious cultivators. How can you be so awesome? How powerful is his supreme god realm physique? He can withstand 10 laws of origin so easily. The Scripture Depository Hall Master, the Wanchi Hall Master, the Examination Hall Master, the Mission Hall Master, the Law Enforcement Hall Master, and the Alchemy Hall Master were naturally not ordinary people since they could become the upper echelons of the Black Heaven sect. When the 6 of them broke through to God King, they had all comprehended over 70% of the mysteries of 3 laws of the world. Compared to God Kings who had only comprehended a single law at the same level of cultivation, the 6 of them were around 10 times stronger. It wasn't that they didn't want to comprehend more of the laws of heaven and earth, but that the laws of heaven and earth were extremely difficult to comprehend. Comprehending a single law was already very difficult, and comprehending multiple laws of heaven and earth at the same time was 10 times more difficult. Simultaneously comprehending 2 types of laws of heaven and earth was 10 times harder than comprehending 1 type of law. Simultaneously comprehending 3 types of laws was 10 times harder than comprehending 2 types of laws. Apart from that, there was also the restriction of lifespan, the strength of the divine body resources, the endurance of the soul, and various other factors. To be able to comprehend 3 types of laws of the world and reach the God King level, one would already be considered an elite among God Kings. It was exactly because of their great strength that the Hall Masters of the Scriptures Hall, the Myriad Weapons Hall, the Exam Hall, the Assignment Hall, the Disciplinary Hall, and the Alchemy Hall were able to become part of the upper echelon of the Mysterious Sky sect after an intense competition among the God Kings back then. As the sect master of the Mysterious Sky sect, Lin Xiantian possessed extraordinary talent. He had comprehended 4 types of laws of heaven and earth, making him the strongest among his peers in the Mysterious Sky sect. That was why he had become the sect master of the Mysterious Sky sect. It was exactly because they understood the difficulty of comprehending multiple types of laws of the world that the Hall Masters of the Scriptures Hall, the Myriad Weapons Hall, the Exam Hall, the Assignment Hall, the Disciplinary Hall, and the Alchemy Hall were shocked and in disbelief when they saw Yi Tianzong comprehend 10 types of laws of heaven and earth. When they saw Yi Tianzong display the 10 origins of laws, they were filled with disbelief. Over the 100,000 years since they had reached the peak of God King, the origins of laws they cultivated had gradually strengthened as they comprehended the laws further. However, even after reaching the peak of the Divine King realm, their origin of laws was only slightly larger than Yi Tianzong's origin of laws. However, Yi Tianzong was only an early God King. The 6 of them could not help but doubt themselves. They asked Yi Tianzong how he had obtained the origins of laws. When Yi Tianzong described the process of intercepting the origin of laws and how it was dangerous, the Scripture Depository Hall Master, Exam Hall Master, and the others all cursed in their hearts. "You're too daring." When regular God Kings opened the profound gate of the laws of heaven and earth, they would condense a sliver of the origins of laws and connect with the sea of origins of laws. Once they gained the recognition of the sea of origins of laws, they would be granted a sliver of the origins of laws. However, what did the 6 of them hear? Yi Tianzong had actually stood on the profound gate of the laws of heaven and earth and forcefully grabbed a sliver of the origins of laws from the sea of origins of laws. What the hell? What were you thinking? Your fucking brain is wired differently from other people's. Wasn't it obvious that there was danger in obtaining the origins of laws? Everyone else had gained the recognition of the sea of origins of laws and was waiting to be granted a sliver of the origins of laws. But you, on the other hand, didn't wait for its approval and directly snatched it from the origin source sea. It would be strange if there wasn't any danger. The fact that the origin source sea didn't kill you with a backlash was already a miracle. After hearing Yi Tianzong's explanation, the Scripture Depository Hall Master, Myriad Weapons Hall Master, and the others took turns to give Yi Tianzong a good lesson. They explained in detail to Yi Tianzong how to properly advance to the God King realm. They also said that when he advanced to the Great Emperor realm in the future, he shouldn't be so ignorant. The Scripture Hall Master and the others did not doubt that Yi Tianzong could become a great emperor in the future. Nonsense, if a divine king who comprehended 10 types of laws of heaven and earth could not become a great emperor, then who could? Yi Tianzong heard the words of the Scripture Depository Master and the others, but he could not voice out his grievances. If he had really only comprehended 10 laws of heaven and earth, he would definitely go through the tribulation according to what the 6 of them had said. However, the problem was that he had comprehended 108 laws of heaven and earth. Ascending to God King required 81 strikes of heavenly lightning. Yi Tianzong had to obtain all 108 types of origin laws before all 81 strikes of heavenly lightning were completed. Otherwise, once the time limit was exceeded, the power of the heavenly thunder would increase exponentially. It would definitely be able to turn Yi Tianzong into ashes. If he waited for the approval of the Sea of Origins of Laws to be granted a sliver of the Origins of Laws like the 6 of them had said, Yi Tianzong would probably not even be able to obtain a third of the Origins of Laws of heaven and earth before he was struck by lightning. Therefore, when he became an emperor or a heavenly venerate in the future, he had to seize every second to snatch the laws of heaven and earth from the Sea of Origins of Laws. Yi Tianzong helplessly thought about the tragic situation he would have to face in the future. On the surface, he appeared serious as he listened to the 6 of them. After more than an hour of continuous bombardment, the scripture storage hall master and the other 5 finally stopped, as if they had not had enough. Yi Tianzong had broken through to become a god king and was still so powerful. This was a joyous occasion for the Black Heaven sect. The Scripture Hall Master, the Myriad Weapons Hall Master, the Examination Hall Master, the Mission Hall Master, the Law Enforcement Hall Master, and the Alchemy Hall Master had a discussion and decided to announce this to the entire sect. They would only cover up the shocking fact that Yi Tianzong had comprehended 10 types of laws of heaven and earth. Furthermore, considering Yi Tianzong's talent in formations, they temporarily let Yi Tianzong take over the position of Formation Hall Master. This would not affect Yi Tianzong's future competition for the position of Black Heaven Sect Master. At the same time, they could nurture a core force in formations for the Black Heaven Sect. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Yi Tianzong did not have any objections to his position, so he agreed. He then said that he had just become a god king and needed to familiarize himself with many things. He needed to go into seclusion to organize what he had learned. The 6 of them did not find this strange. After a few more words, the 6 of them left. Chapter 309. After the Scripture Palace Master and the others left, Yi Tianzong gathered all the members of Myth 6 on the Howran Peak. He passed on the shadow recording stone to Lu Xini and the others about the things they needed to pay attention to when breaking through to the Divine King realm. He told them to copy and read it themselves, but not to spread it to others. Lu Xini, O Yueyun, Qinglin, and the other members of Myth 6 were facing the next step of breaking through to the Divine King realm. With the content recorded on the shadow recording stone, they would be able to take fewer detours and be more prepared. After Yi Tianzong asked Lu Xini and the others about the Howran camp, he told them that he needed to go into seclusion to sort out what he had learned and let them deal with the Howran camp on their own. After that, he continued his seclusion. After activating the protective formation of the cultivation cave, Yi Tianzong disappeared from the Black Heaven sect and returned to the cultivation area of the Immortal Mansion. After seeing Ling Xinyue and Shen Yu, Yi Tianzong gave them the 2 shadow recording stones that recorded the conversation between the Scripture Palace Master and the others. After spending a few days together, Yi Tianzong walked out of the Immortal Mansion with Ling Xinyue and Shen Yu and went to meet Yi Howran and the others. After seeing Yi Tianzong come out of seclusion, Yi Howran and the others were very happy. Yi Howran said, Tianzong, the 10-year period will be up in about 2 months. The invitations to hold the Divine King ceremony for you have been sent out. I'm sure the other forces will be here soon. Yi Tianzong nodded and said, Yes, Father. After the ceremony this time, I will immediately break the seal of heaven and earth. At that time, heaven and earth will return to its peak and be able to accommodate divine kings. You've accumulated enough. I'll tell you some things you need to pay attention to when you become a god king. When the time comes, you should have an extremely high chance of becoming a god king. After breaking the heaven and earth seal, I will go into seclusion to organize what I have learned. I will try to get rid of the enemy as soon as possible after the heaven and earth expansion is completed. I'm afraid I don't have the time to take care of you. You have to be careful. If you really can't handle it, you can wait for me to deal with the enemy before breaking through. Yi Yuanshan waved his hand and said, Tianzong, don't worry. After breaking the seal of heaven and earth, You can cultivate in seclusion with peace of mind. Although we can't help you much, we definitely won't distract you. It's just breaking through the realm. In any case, we still have hundreds of thousands of years. What's the hurry? Let's wait until you've dealt with the enemy first." After Yi Yuanshan said that, Yi Haoran, Su Mingxin, Li Qingya and the others voiced their agreement. Peak 6th heavenly layer godmyths like them had a lifespan of nearly 120,000 years. Thus, they weren't in a hurry to break through to the God King realm. Time was tight in the face of the enemy. If something went wrong during the breakthrough, it would involve Yi Tianzong's energy. At that time, they wouldn't be of help to him, but would instead cause trouble. They might as well wait until Yi Tianzong had dealt with everything first. Seeing his family members telling him to cultivate in seclusion with peace of mind, and that he didn't need to worry about anything else, and that they wouldn't drag him down, Yi Tianzong's heart was filled with a warm feeling. 2 months passed quickly. All the superpowers and holy lands of the Central Plains, Southern Wilderness, Western regions and Northern Borderland, as well as the Human Clan and the Demon Clan, had sent their high-level officials to the Hao Ranjin sect to participate in Yi Tianzong's God King ceremony. Even the sea tribes in the Boundless Sea had sent their teams. As the first expert to break through the limits of heaven and earth and become a God King since the mythological era, no one and no force dared to disrespect Yi Tianzong and the Hao Ranjin sect. During the ceremony, Yi Tianzong confirmed his God King title, Heaven's Expanse God King. As for his previous decision to announce his identity as the World Lord, Yi Tianzong later changed his mind. After the ceremony ended, Yi Tianzong easily broke the last layer of the seal on the profound spirit world in front of all the forces. With a swing of the divine sword, the last layer of the seal on the profound spirit world was cut off. The entire profound spirit world suddenly shook and began to expand. This was the last time the seal on heaven and earth was broken. The suppressed demon emperor did not come to find trouble, nor did the black humanoid creature appear to fight with Yi Tianzong. This saved Yi Tianzong a lot of trouble. With the last layer of the seal broken, the profound spirit world would gradually reach its peak. This time, the expansion of heaven and earth would increase in scale by 1,000 times, completely reaching the level of a middle-class world. After accumulating enough time, it would completely recover to its peak. According to the information transmitted by the will of heaven and earth, this expansion would last for 30 years. After Yi Tianzong told everyone about the expansion of heaven and earth, he disappeared in front of everyone's eyes and arrived at the peak of Tiangang Peak. Holding the hands of Ling Xinyu and Shen Yu, Yi Tianzong looked at the vast world of clouds and said, "I'll accompany you for a few more days, then I'll return to the trial space. 30 years here is 300 years in the trial space. I want to increase my strength as much as possible. Even if a demon emperor's vitality is greatly damaged, I can't let my guard down. With the power of the will of heaven and earth, I've already forcefully searched the soul of the demon emperor's incarnation that I captured before. After the last seal of the world is broken, the sealed demon emperor can't immediately escape. Originally, the expansion of the world would need 20 years to complete, but I ordered the will of the world to not give up on suppressing the demon emperor during the expansion, so it was extended to 30 years. I'll rush back before the 30-year deadline and use the power of the world to destroy the demon emperor." Hearing Yi Tianzong's plan, Ling Xinyue and Shen Yu did not say anything. They just leaned on Yi Tianzong's body, enjoying every minute and second with Yi Tianzong. They accompanied Yi Tianzong to look at the churning sea of clouds. 3 days later, in the immortal mansion, Yi Tianzong bid farewell to Ling Xinyue and Shen Yu. Then, he passed through the colorful barrier and returned to the cultivation cave in the profound heaven sect. Yi Tianzong had been in seclusion in the cultivation cave for 20 years. In these 20 years, Yi Tianzong relied on his divine soul that was already comparable to the peak of the divine king realm and combined it with the various divine ability records that he had obtained from killing enemies in the world battlefield to further perfect his self-created divine abilities such as the world-suppressing fist, the heaven-covering palm, the God-shattering finger, the void-rending claw, and the traceless void. He had completely reached the peak of the minor divine abilities. Only when he reached the divine king realm could Yi Tianzong's unparalleled potential and foundation be considered to have begun to erupt. With the thousands of minor divine abilities and incomplete major divine abilities that he had obtained from the world battlefield, as well as the 108 heaven-defying minor divine abilities that he had inherited from the immortal mansion, and Yi Tianzong's powerful mental state that had already broken through to the profound heart realm, the boundless sea of consciousness condensed into a profound spirit embryo according to a mysterious trajectory. It radiated a mysterious profound spirit light that allowed Yi Tianzong's divine soul to comprehend and deduce divine abilities to rise by 2 levels. He was not inferior to some early-stage great emperors at all. In every instant, Yi Tianzong would think of millions of thoughts to comprehend the mysteries of these minor divine abilities and convert them into his own strength. Only when he had reached the divine king realm could he completely unleash the full power of these minor divine abilities and begin to comprehend major divine abilities. In the process of over 20 years of seclusion, the one that had given Yi Tianzong the most inspiration and help were the 108 minor divine abilities that he had inherited from the immortal mansion. The minor divine abilities that could be inherited from the immortal mansion were extremely high-level divine abilities even in the universe. Even many major divine abilities could not compare to these minor divine abilities. Furthermore, in the process of Yi Tianzong's comprehension, he discovered that these minor divine abilities were all-encompassing, as if they encompassed all the mysteries of heaven and earth. Every minor divine ability could evolve into at least 9 other minor divine abilities on its own. It was extremely mysterious and profound. Furthermore, in the end, Yi Tianzong discovered that these minor divine abilities were not fully understood. They seemed to be a part of a higher-level divine ability. Only then did Yi Tianzong realize that he had always neglected the greatest wealth. With the help of the Spirit Profound Light, Yi Tianzong comprehended all the minor divine abilities that could help him with his comprehension ability that was comparable to an Emperor Realm expert. After 20 years, Yi Tianzong had not only completely comprehended the 108 minor divine abilities that he had inherited from the immortal mansion, he had also combined thousands of other divine abilities. He had also developed his world-suppressing fist, heaven-covering palm, God-shattering finger, void-rending claw, boundless sword technique, aurora flash, traceless void, and other divine abilities to the peak of minor divine abilities. In terms of attack and profoundness, they had already reached the same level as the 108 minor divine abilities that he had inherited from the immortal mansion. They were no weaker than some of the major divine abilities at all. This was especially so for Yi Tianzong's main cultivation, which was also the most powerful offensive sword technique. After perfecting it, not only had he perfected the previous 9 moves of the boundless sword technique, he had also created the 10th move of the technique. The brand new boundless sword technique had a total of 10 moves. The first move was the Sword of Separation, the second move was the Boundless Cold Light, the third move was the Cloud Soaring Immortal Slaying, the fourth move was Howren's Heavenly Dipper, the fifth move was the Infinite Sword, the sixth move was the Eternal Cycle, the seventh move was the Stellar Transposition, the eighth move was the World Massacre, the ninth move was the Unstoppable Eternity, and the 10th move was the Chaotic Firmament.